Okay, so not sure if we can continue now or we need to wait.
I think everyone is here. Mình mới tưởng.
It's okay, maybe we start first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from the Webex, seems like no one is joining back. But let's see. If someone is joining back from Webex, then I'll approve. Okay. Yeah. So welcome back everyone. After having the lunch together. So now what I'll be showing is just to cover whatever left off before the lunch, right, is actually I have another uh tools that we would like to share with you. So let me check. Maybe I'll open up the slide first. Okay, everyone. Other than the Akamai demo tool or demo portal that we showed earlier, like we have another website called portal.akamaicentre.com. So maybe everyone you can try to access this URL. But in order to log into this portal, right, you will be using your Akamai Control Center password to log in. Okay, so they'll ask you to log in using Akamai Control Center. Then you'll be come back to this page. You're able to see this SE Central page. Alright, so yeah, please try to do that. At the same time, I will be covering what are the things that you can do in this portal. Okay, so basically this partner SE Central, right, is basically a tool, a place for you to find the different demos that you may need. Like if I show you the next few slides, like we actually have a lot of different solution inside the SE Central, but of course you don't need to know everything. Okay, you don't have to know everything. More importantly is when you go to security. Okay, we have solutions for security. Okay, so in the security solutions, we actually have a few different types of demos that you can get access. Okay, so I would say the more important one that you should take note is we have the AAP interactive demo, or you can have a AAP with ASM interactive demo, API security demo as well. We also have the microsegmentation demo. It's just that it's not in this page. I will be showing you how you can access to the microsegmentation demo as well, but through another URL. But for now, you know that this place is for you to request for demo. So let us take an example. Like in maybe you are interested to access the demo for API security. So when you click,
So
yeah,
you see in the lobby.
in the lobby. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I think I just accept someone, Mr. Hugh, but no one else inside.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people already left when we have lunch. So we need to ask them to join again, I think. Okay, back to here, right? Let's take example. Maybe you're interested into a API security demo. So what you can do is when you click on it, like then you'll be asked to put your first name, last name. The username will be automatically generated when you put your name, so you don't have to specify your own username. Password, you can put your own password. Then you fill up your email address and the company. So once you fill everything, you click submit. You will receive I mean not really receive, but it's based on what password you put inside there. Then you'll be able to log in using this password. So I think I'll give you a example. So let's say I'm going to portal.akamaiCentral.com. Okay, so I go to security and maybe let's say I'm interested. Just filter based on the demo item. I'm interested to have a demo access to this AAP with ASM interactive demo. You click on it. Then what you can do is fill up your name, what password you want to use, email, and the company. So maybe let me show you once how you can fill up, and you see the username is automatically generated for you. Then password, I'm just going to put some random password. Email, you will be using of course your company email, right? In the email tab. For me, I need to put my personal one because I can't use Akamai email address here. But for you, you can use, of course, use your own work email address in this part. So once you fill up the information, click submit. Seems like I already registered before, so that's why I need to use another username. Okay, once you submit, the system will show you a success message. So it will take for a while. Okay, so you see that success username and password created. Okay, then you see actually password is in plain text. So next, what you can do is click the login page link, and then you will see this page. Right, you just put your username and password inside this login form and then click login. They actually give you another credential, okay? Because in order to access the demo, you need to have a credential to go to Akamai Control Center. Again, the one that I create just now is just an account inside this SE Central page, but it doesn't mean you can access Control Center. To access Control Center, you should get this. Okay, so this is my username, this is my password. Okay, so you can have your own user and password later on when you log in through this. Let's say I'm going to log in. I'm going to open up an incognito page to go to my control center. Oh, it sends me to SSO. I need to turn it off. Hold on, yeah. Okay, I will need to log out from here. Sorry, log out. And then I will log in to the page. Okay, so supposedly this is the page that you should see when you go into control.akamai.com. You put the email address that they give it. Oh, sorry, I haven't copied it. So you use this email address, copy, paste it here, enter, and then you'll be asked for password. Use this password, right? Use this password, then go into here, then sign in. So you see this credential is totally different credential than the one that you use to access your sandbox account or your customer account. It's totally different. So this is just for demo purpose. And so in case you may not have your own demo environment yet, but you still want to show some demo to your customer, you can use this. Okay, this is already ready made. Everything is everything is inside. You can straight away show them like the property configuration, security configuration, things like that. But you will be asked to configure 2FA. Of course, if you're not going to access this for more than 5 times, I think it's okay. But if after 5 times you log in, you still haven't configured 2FA, then you'll be forced to configure. But for now, I'm just going to skip, okay, to save some time. Okay, let me approve someone access to the meeting. Okay, so this is basically the demo page, which is in the Akamai Control Center itself. Just that you will see your user is this one, which falls into this AAP with ASM Interactive Demo account. Okay, so the purpose of this is just to do some demonstration to your customer. So what you can show during the demo is, first, you can show them the CDN configuration. Yeah. So, hey Paul, didn't realize you are here. So you just finished the meeting. I think you have another meeting next, right? Is it? Oh, I see. Okay, right. Let me continue. Okay, so it seems like there's no domain here. There should be a domain, but it's okay. In that case, we show them the security configuration. Okay, so that's where you can introduce to them. This is our security configuration page where you can show them how we create the configuration, and then you will see the list of configurations. But for this particular demo, I would say you should go for this specific security configuration. The rest are, I think, are just dummy configuration. So go for this. And then now you see we have the latest version is version 19. So that's where you can show to your customers, right? Even for security configuration, we can do a staging environment and production environment. So you can always test, like maybe you create a new version called version 20. You make some changes to the configuration and the policy, and then you activate that new settings or configuration in staging first. Okay, in staging. So once we test whether the staging environment is okay, there's no issue with the new version of the configuration, then we can go for the production. Yeah, so from this page, you can immediately tell customer two things. First, we have the versioning, which is actually really useful if one day you want to roll back. Like for example, you might be using version 19, but you notice version 19 has problems. You can quickly roll back. Like for example, I want to roll back to version 14. Like I can roll back to version 14. I don't think I have the button to activate version 14 because this is just view only access. Yeah, if you have a edit access, like you actually have a button to do things like activate the older version of the configuration. Okay. Now maybe let's go to version 19 to do some demonstration, and you can see within one configuration we can have multiple policies. So one configuration and one policy, maybe you may be a bit confused what are the difference, right? So you can think of one security configuration in the on-premise world, like it's like a hardware firewall box. So if you have 5 security config, you can think of like they have 5 hardware firewall boxes. Okay, so it within a one hardware box, you can have different settings. So if you look at those different security policies, it's like different settings within a hardware box. It's just that everything is on a cloud, right? So we don't use hardware anymore, but you still can think of the similar concept. Okay, then you can actually split the security policies into different purpose. So some customers, they think that, okay, security policy A, I want it to protect a static website. Means the website is just for public to view the content, but they don't have to log in, they don't have to do transactions. It's just a website that people view and browse the content. Everything is static. So you may also need to have another policy for dynamic websites where the websites may need user to log in to view the content. So you may need a different settings for different types of website. Or some web application is just an API. So API may need another set of the settings to protect it. So this is a use case of how you can actually split into different policies. Like in this case, they even split into whether is it a production or staging site. Yeah, so there are a few different ways you can play around. Maybe let us show you like a production site. Like we actually have a different modules we can uh, show to the customer. Okay, we have a IP geo firewall. Is a really basic feature where we can block based on the IP address or based on the countries or based on the AS number, things like that. Okay, it's a really simple, easy to use IP based firewall. And then we have a denial of service protection, okay, DOS protection, where this is mainly to help protect customers' website from DDoS attacks. You know, DDoS attack usually send a lot of traffic, like maybe 1 second, they can send up to 1,000 requests, right, from one IP address. So it tries to flood the web server so that the web server becomes unresponsive, becomes overloaded. Then we have this DDoS protection to help protect against this kind of attacks. So we can show them that we can specify the threshold. Let's say for post request means, let's say you are going to submit data to the web server. Okay, you want to make sure that one IP address cannot make more than 5 post requests per 5 seconds. If more than that, then you want to deny it. Okay, so you can tell customers that, okay, those are the thresholds that you can define. Okay, URL protection rule is like if let's say the customer have a URL, they know that this URL can only accept maybe 1,000 requests at a time. They don't care how many users coming in. Okay, they only care about that one URL, how many traffic they can handle for the URL. So it works a bit different than the rate limiting policies. This rate limiting policy looks at per IP address number of requests, but this one is look at overall. One URL can handle how many requests at a time. Then slow post protection. There's a way that people do DDoS attack is they try to send the data at a really slow speed. Like they only send 10 bytes per second. They do it really slowly, but the server has to wait in order to get the full data. Right? So they will keep waiting until the web server may be overloaded. That's another way of doing DDoS attack by the attackers. So this slow post protection is something that we can avoid those attackers trying to do this kind of attacks where they send really small data in a per second rate. Okay, that's all about the DOS protection. Custom rules is where we can define their own criteria, what specific things they want to block. So there are few use cases. First is if the customer knows that, okay, they may be a specific URL, they only want to allow a few IP address, office IP address to access that URL, but they want to block the rest. So you can use the custom rules to define. Or maybe another use case is, let's say you know that your web application has a vulnerability. You want to fix the vulnerability, the security vulnerability, but before you fully do the patching of the application, you want to create a rule here to temporarily do the virtual patching. So you define a rules, let's say if the traffic match this certain criteria, I want to block because if attackers can access the URL, it will cause a data breach, something like that. So this is another way of using custom rules to deal with virtual patching. And next up is we call it a web application firewall, right? So this web application firewall is basically deals with the common OWASP top 10 attacks. If you know SQL injection, process scripting, those are very familiar kind of web-based attacks. So they are all handled by the web application firewall. Okay, so you can show that we have all those different groups. Okay, we group similar WAF rules into one. For example, if it's a cross-site scripting attack, we have a multiple rules. You can actually show it on the rule variable. So you will see that we have all those different types of rules to deal with cross-site scripting. And then we have a rules for local file inclusion, where you also see the 16 rules listed here, all used to deal with the local file inclusion attack. So you can actually show them, like we actually have different types of rules in place. But you also notice one thing where why the rule action here is called risk scoring rather than deny or something like that is because in Akamai, as I mentioned in the early session today, right, they are using a very special approach. They call it a adaptive security engine. Rather than they set deny for each rule, but they group them into one attack group like local file inclusion. So if let's say the incoming request triggers some of the rules here, it doesn't mean that it will straight away block. Okay, what they do is they will calculate the score, the risk score, whether is it more than a certain limit or certain threshold. If more than that, then only it applies the action called deny. If the score is less than a certain threshold, maybe I take example, right? You can set a threshold, not set, okay. Akamai will determine the threshold automatically. So in some cases, the threshold will be 9. If the threshold is less than 9, it won't trigger block or deny. But if the threshold is more than 9, then it will trigger the block. Yeah, so that is how our adaptive security engine is very special compared to other WAF provider. And the reason why Akamai does this is they want to improve the accuracy of detecting attacks and reduce false positive. False positive. Okay, that's the idea why we have the so-called adaptive security engine. And penalty box is when the customer says, okay, is there any way that let's say someone has triggered the WAF rules and the WAF has blocked the traffic, can we block them for a long duration period, for example 10 minutes? Yeah, so we have the penalty box, right? If someone triggers any of the WAF rules above, become blocked, then I want to put them into this penalty box, as in the next 10 minutes, they are not allowed to send any requests to the website until the 10-minute time is over. That's the purpose of the penalty box in the AAP. Okay, but now you see it's alert, right? So which means even though someone triggers any rules at the top, but this one is alert. Alert means it's just creating some logs in our system, but in fact we didn't really block them for 10 minutes. Yeah, it is just for our internal analysis purpose, but we can actually choose to set it to deny. Okay, so that's about our web application firewall. Then we have a API request constraint. Okay, API request constraint are useful for positive API security. Right, what we mean by positive API security is, if let's say we have a lot of API endpoints, you have a slash login API, you have slash search API. Maybe I can do some examples here. API endpoint example. Maybe you can have a slash login. maybe you can have slash search. Maybe you can have slash delete. So different URL, different endpoint, right? The way they work will be also different. So maybe you want to say that for the login API, you only want to allow post request, for example. But if someone sends a get request to log in, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, because login should have something sending to the server. For example, your username and password. If you don't send them username and password, then no point if you want to request this. Same goes for search. Search maybe is useful for get requests, but it's not make sense to have a put request or delete request on the search API. Yeah, so we by using the API request constraint, that's what we can specify what are the things that users are allowed to do with the API. Or even this one, delete API, we only allow delete request method. So not just based on request method, we can even specify for, let's say, post request, what are the data that we expected. Okay, we only expect username and password, right? But if suddenly someone is trying to send a 100-character username, I think it doesn't really make sense. Yeah, who's going to have a 100-character username, right? Maybe at most 32, something like that. So you can put a limit for username, maximum character 32. If more than 32, I want to block. Yeah, so this is how we can use the API request constraint to achieve this positive API security. Yeah. Then client reputation. Okay, you can think of client reputation is like a IP reputation system. So they have a history of the past activities of an IP address. If let's say IP address of 5.6.7.8 did some malicious attacks, maybe the IP address was doing a DDoS attack for the last 7 days or 14 days. So the way we classify them is we give them a score from 0 to 10. So 0 means the IP address is clean. Yeah, so there's no dirty signs of it. But if let's say the score is very high, like 9 or 10, that means that the IP address has confirmed to have some malicious activity for the past few days. Okay, so we set the threshold, like if the score is more than 9, we set as deny or block. But if a score is like between 5 to 8, we set it to alert. We don't block them, but still we can analyze in our security logs and understand what was that about. Okay, this is about the client reputation. And the unique proposition of our client reputation is when you have this feature, right? That means you can the way how they classify the reputation is based on the customer industry, right? Like I mentioned in the earlier session, right? Even though this IP address 5.6.7.8 might be malicious, but it may be only malicious for financial customers because this IP address has only attacked financial customers before, but they didn't attack uh, the media industry or maybe government industry, right? So they can actually adjust the threshold based on the different industry. Okay, malware protection. Malware protection is useful when you have customer that says that, oh, they have a website that allows the end user to upload files. So who knows if, let's say, let me think, is there any good examples? Like e-commerce website, they may be asking you to upload certain documents to prove your identity, something like that. Or I'm not sure if you guys have any other examples where the customers may ask users to upload files. They upload a PDF documents or Microsoft Word document. Okay, but you will never know whether the files that user upload is it malicious or not. So we have the malware protection to scan the files for virus. If there's a virus detected, Akamai will block it. Okay, lastly is the bot management. So bot management mainly used to deal with the bot traffic, bot related attacks. So we have different categories here. Like we have a Akamai bot category where it shows you a different categories of our the bot database. For example, we have a list of bots that fall under the search engine optimization bot. Okay, we have a list of bots fall under financial services. So customers may determine which type of bot is useful for them. They don't have to allow all. If they think that, let's say, automated shopping cart and sniper bot is something that they want to block because, let's say, it's a e-commerce customer, they don't like this to happen. So they can set the action to deny. So the shopping cart sniper bots, they cannot come in. When you expand the list, they actually tells you who are the bots. They have the list of names. In this case, it's only 4 of them. So they will know that those are the bots under this category. But if Akamai doesn't have the bots in the database, customer can still define their own bot. Okay, maybe they work with different vendors or different suppliers, but the suppliers need to connect to their application to do something, but it may be classified as a bot traffic, so they want to whitelist. So in this case, they have something like a class vendor bots, then they can skip, which means they are not going to subject to bot detections here. Then other ways like transparent detections, active detections, those are the different types of ways that we can further detect whether is it a bot or is it a human traffic. Yeah, so those are the different ways we can do in the bot management. Okay, but just to let you know that this bot management doesn't mean that it's a bot manager premium. In this contract, right? I mean, the one that you are seeing right now in the contract is just a bot visibility and mitigation feature inside AAP. Okay, it's built in by default, but it's not a bot manager premium, the advanced version. The advanced version, of course, you have more settings over here. So that's generally the overview of how you can configure the security settings in Akamai. Okay. Of course, your customers might be asking, how can they analyze the attack side? So we have something called the security center. So security center, we can go to web security analytics. So web security analytics shows you the detailed logs of each traffic blocked by Akamai AAP. Okay, right now you may see I have nothing to show, but we can try to open up 30 days of data. Or maybe okay. So you need to take note that here we can actually change to which security configuration that we want to view the logs. Okay, so let's say I'm going to change to this security configuration version 16. Then only we can see a lot of data showing up here. Okay, and then when you click on samples, you can see the detailed logs of for each of them, including the parameters of the request, what is the URL, what is the host name, maybe the request header and cookies. So it gives you a better idea like why Akamai wants to block this attack. Like maybe if you see status 403 is denied, then you will know that Akamai blocked this request is because it triggers SQL injection. And it goes back to the adaptive security engine that I explained earlier. Like this SQL injection attack group has a threshold of 7, but now the score is 3000. way higher than 7. So Akamai will take the deny action. But if let's say this request only has final score of 5, which is lower than 7, then it won't trigger the block. Okay. Then you see we can even identify what is the queries thing that they're trying to do. This is an example attack, an SQL injection attack. If you are from a security background, you should be able to immediately identify what is this. Okay, that's why Akamai blocks it with some other information that you can see on the request and response header. Yeah, that's how we analyze. Of course, we have a lot of different other dashboard that you can view, such as you may just want to look at the overview of the entire security analytics, not the detailed ones. So you can go to the dashboard overview and it will tell you, like, for example, how many traffic is being blocked by Akamai WAF compared to the ones that Akamai allow. Okay, it tells you like all traffic, how much compared to attack traffic, how much is it. So you see that from all the traffic, almost 100% of the traffic is attack traffic because we do simulation. Yeah, but in general, I don't think you should see 99% here. Yeah, maybe it's just like 5 to 10% of the total website traffic is only being contributed by attack. And it tells you like different types of attack traffic. I think some customers may also want to know this. Akamai has so many security features. Whether which security feature is blocking the most of the attack. So you can show them this dashboard. Like we have different types of security features that contribute to the security protections for their website. Okay. Here you see we have a few different dashboard like trends, bot trends, DOS reputation, WAF rate control, and web application firewall. But I think because of a time constraint, I probably won't go through each of them one by one. But later on, you can always register for a demo account and log in and try to look around and try to understand by yourself what those things mean. It even includes the reputation console. So this is a useful tool as it's related to client reputation. So maybe you may want to understand the IP address that you know that is malicious. In Akamai point of view, what is the reputation? Maybe I use this as a example. So it tells you that this IP address has been conducting a lot of attacks for the last 30 days. And what is the history of the score? See, sometimes the score can be 10, sometimes the score can be 5 or 0 or back to 10. Yeah, so if you see, look at the today's data, the score is still 10. That means that this is confirmed still doing some attacks. So we use the current reputation to do that. Okay. So far, is there any questions from you all after you have go through this AAP demo session?
Em có câu hỏi
Dạ.
về cái phần cái này ở cao demo thì cái này thì mọi người có cái tự đăng ký, mọi người vào sẽ tự lướt qua tất cả những cái phần feature nên là sâu với khách hàng về cái security center này thì giúp cho khách hàng hiểu được là ok Akamai có những cái feature trong cái dạng này công như này. Đấy, và ở trong mà security phân tích thì trên Twitter có thể show được là ok đây là những dạng trend tấn công từ bot này, từ WAF này, đốt này. Xong rồi là khi mà khách hàng đi sâu phân tích đến từng request một thì lúc đấy Eric có show được là trong một request chẳng hạn thì một request trong những mapping là với cái rule tức là một cái what rule nào và nó risk scoring là bao nhiêu trong cái threshold như thế bình thường, ví dụ như là với cái threshold ví dụ bình thường là 9 cái lạnh nhưng mà nó khi là nó tổng cái đống mà matching vào lên đến tận khoảng 1.000 2.000 hay bao nhiêu đấy thì nó sẽ có một cái action kết quả sẽ deny theo action cố hình trong phần review config rồi. Nhưng ngoài ra ở trong đấy thì nó sẽ có cái thông tin về request header hay là response header thì khi đấy mọi người có thể xem được cái request đấy nó sẽ có những cái thông tin gì trên cái request header, response header và những cái thông tin về client IP cũng có mai trong cái phần. Thế thì phần security center này sẽ giúp cho là khách hàng sẽ hiểu chi tiết xem là cuộc tấn công này đang xuất phát đến từ đâu này, là tấn công chủ yếu vào cái hostname nào hay là cái API nào, và chủ yếu những dạng tấn công ở đây ở thiên what hay thiên phần DOS là thiên liên quan đến bot management, từ đấy là mình có thể sẽ có những cái phương án loading thêm nếu cần. Thì bình thường thì với các khách hàng của Akamai khi mà sử dụng giải pháp AP này thì gần như là cái phần WAF là mình có thể hoàn toàn là chuyển sang từ Alert deny được trong vòng có thể một vài ngày thôi là chuyển sang. Chứ có thể nhiều khách hàng là họ chuyển đến này luôn. Đó. Có hai cái phần chính thì cả phần tổng thống DDoS ở đây là bot. Bot hai cái đấy thì nó sẽ cần một thời gian để tuning, cái đấy thì nó sẽ khá nhạy cảm. Như lúc đấy Eric có nói là sẽ có nhiều dạng tấn công DDoS mà nó còn đi dưới cả cái phần red limiting, thì sẽ phải có một số phương án để chặn cái dạng tấn công cũng như là tấn công bot bot phức tạp. Bot phức tạp thì Akamai cũng sẽ có cái giải pháp bot manager premium trong cái dạng sophisticated bot, hay là những dạng tấn công người web scraper hay là inventory grabbing hoặc là credential stuffing, rất là nhiều.
Cái DOS ở đây chỉ là DOS của cho phần layer 7 thôi, còn không phải cái DOS kia có hai.
Còn có cái mạch bên phải cái infrastructure security ạ, DOS đấy là sẽ full là DOS là volumetric. Volumetric đấy thì là sẽ là đấu trực tiếp BGP với cả router của khách hàng đấy với cả cái router của Akamai tại các SP. Đấu BGP thì các bạn sẽ các cái GRE tunnel, xong rồi là sẽ lái luồng traffic qua cái scrubbing center của Akamai, thì tại ở phần Việt Nam thì sẽ có tại sinh công cho cái phần volumetric, và cũng như ở đấy thì bọn em
cái đấy lại chỉ volumetric thôi.
volumetric là chính. Bọn em sẽ protect theo dạng là subnet là 24. Đấy.
Nhưng mà nó vẫn phải check cả những cái DOS trên application.
Nếu mà thực ra DOS application thì mình dùng cái AP này là chính. Thì DOS application layer 7 là dùng cái này cái kia ấy là phục vụ cho DOS layer 3, layer 4 cho những cái dạng là non web app, tức là không phải 8043 thì là sang bên sẽ chống vào bên này, chống bên cái giải pháp forensic đấy là infrastructure security. Còn cái phần này sẽ tập trung chủ yếu vào web app, mobile app, API, port 8043. Đấy là đầu cái lần đi vào.
Khách hàng muốn lẫn thì là cả hai
mua cả hai nhân. Vậy thì mua cả hai. Vấn đề gì đâu. Còn thực ra nếu mà khách hàng họ không quá lăn tăn về câu chuyện là ví dụ layer 3, layer 4 ở các cái tầng web app này thì giải pháp này bình thường họ đã chặn layer 3, layer 4 có tự drop luôn rồi. Anh em chỉ chủ yếu là tập trung vào WAF và chỉ drop layer 7 thôi cho cái phần pháp API một tiếp application này. Đó. Thì nó khá rõ ràng cái phần đấy. Khách hàng nào mà hiện tại mà họ đang chạy cả on-premise cả trên cloud ấy, sẽ rất phù hợp khi mà sử dụng Akamai, thì hoàn toàn có thể không quan tâm cái việc là cái hostname nó đang ở đâu, thì chống cái dạng tấn công này ở trên cùng cái phần quản trị và vận hành nhẹ luôn, chứ đỡ phải ví dụ như là ở dưới đầu lại phải có Win, có wifi trong đầu trên kia thì lại phải có Win AWS hoặc là GCP hoặc là Azure chẳng hạn. Ngoài ra thì ví dụ như là phần BNP thì bọn em sẽ có cả tích hợp SDK cho các cái phần quay app để sử dụng chủ yếu cho các khách hàng tấn công, khách hàng hiện tại mà họ đang có quay app mà có những tình huống tấn công về cái dạng bot phức tạp, thì bọn em có cả SDK tích hợp bot này. Web thì nó web thì là mình chủ yếu là mình bảo vệ những cái API endpoint kia thôi, thì do phần bot manager bên như chủ yếu là web và mobile app sẽ là cái API endpoint chứ không phải tất cả các API endpoint thì chúng ta đều phải on board lên. Thì những cái API endpoint nào mà nó mang tính là khi đấy có cái sự tác động của người dùng vào thì mình sẽ sử dụng cái API để đưa lên trên Akamai.
Yep. Thanks, Kui, for further explanation. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone, you have any questions? If no, I think I'll quickly go to our next agenda, which I will be calling the API security landscape, and you know how you can position API security. All right. So can we start the next one? So hope you have a better idea in when you are going to pitch to your customers about our AAP, and you want to show them some demos. This is actually a good place. So you can tell them like our security configuration, you can achieve that kind of flexibility, and even with the full details of the security analytics, which is actually quite useful. Okay, move on to the next one. Okay, API security. So as you probably know, we have something called positive API security model, which is in the AAP solution, the ones that I showed you earlier. Okay, this is what we call as a positive API security. Okay, I wouldn't say there's nothing wrong with it. This is actually a good security protections that customer can have with the API, but it doesn't mean that you can fully protect your APIs by just using positive API security. That's the problem. Okay, this is something that I'll be covering in this topic, right? Agenda. Okay, so what we would like to tell you is based on Akamai's observation, we noticed that 80% of the total traffic that we see, right, they are all API traffic. So now from here, you know that API traffic is one of the most important ones that we should look into. But the problem is not many companies know how to protect their API. Yeah. So the a normal website traffic like HTML or maybe CSS, JavaScript files, those are just a small part of it. API traffic consists of 80%. Okay, based on Gartner, in year 2022, API attacks will be the number one threat vector. Okay, compared to other types of attacks like HTML based, form based attacks, they are just a bit boring. Now attackers like to target your API. Yes, as of now, not many companies can do proper API protections. That's why they love to attack API. And of course, it's very easy to attack API endpoint as well. I will show you later. Okay. Regulatory compliance. Why customers look into API security is also because of the compliance as well. PCI DSS, they are requiring those companies, especially whoever processing financial data, right? They need to comply with this. Yeah. This is like another statistics that you can look into. By 2024, API abuse and data breaches will be double up. Like for example, maybe 2023, the number of breaches may be 1 million, but in 2024 it's going to be 2 million. It's going to be double up. Even though I'm not too sure what is the exact numbers, but just the concept is like this. Okay. Then existing application security solutions not built for API. What does it mean? Okay, while we have a web application firewall, right? Okay, we can block common web-based attacks like file inclusion, cross-site scripting, SQL injection. But it doesn't mean that those protections are fully capable of protecting your API endpoints. Okay, they are just a bit traditional in that way. And even API traffic not just exists between the internet and your infrastructure, right? Or we call it as a north-south traffic. API traffic can also happen internal. Okay, in your internal network, you can have application A talk to application B using API. But still, you may not realize that how important it is to protect your internal API communication as well. Yeah. If let's say application A is sending malicious request to application B, but you didn't protect it, because most of the people they only think about protecting not sub. Not sub means from external to internal. Okay, the APS that you publish to outside. Many people only look at this, but they didn't look at the east west. From maybe data center A to data center B, something like that. They didn't look into that. So our API security solution is the one that we try to solve these kind of issues. But I'll be covering in the next few slides. I want to tell you is the API's traffic problem is when you look at traditionally how hackers do the cyber attack with these few stages. Like first, maybe they start with reconnaissance. They want to figure out your how your environment looks like. They want to collect more information as possible. Then they weaponize, infiltrate your network, and then perform lateral movement, try to compromise more devices or networks inside your organization. Then escalate the privileges, and then only breach will happen. But API attack is really easy, just one step. They just look at what are the vulnerabilities that your API has, and then boom, you get the data breach, which is actually really dangerous if you think about it. Yeah, but still not many companies are aware of this, and even they may have a lot of APIs, but they don't have the document to keep track what APIs that they have. Like, so this can become something called as a shadow API. Yeah, APIs that they are not even know that they are publishing to the outside, and the attackers found it, right, and then suddenly they found out that oh, there's a vulnerability of the API. Wow, then the attackers will be really happy. They can start to attack it. Okay, so what we are trying to tell is API abuse can happen beyond WAAP. By just relying on our WAAP solution is not enough to protect the API. Okay. This basically is a really good diagram to show you what is the coverage of our AAP solution. So our AAP solution can only cover this kind of things, but anything further, including API abuse detection, anomaly detection, threat hunting, those are the things that cannot be done by just using AAP. So customers will need something called the API security to actually do anything beyond that. Right? Even API gateway, some customers may have API gateway, but their purpose is just to do those user application and authorization, routing of the API requests, in the government, so on. Some customers they think that if I put a login authentication process in the API, I can prevent those attacks. It's actually not true because attacks can happen even after the user logins, right? Maybe the user already got compromised. The attackers do some credential stuffing, try to log into the API, and then they do something malicious after that. So we still need to look into the traffic or API request that is already authenticated, but still it can be malicious. So I'm going to give you a few samples. Okay, so imagine you have a website called Lamborghini.com, and this allows user to sign up. Okay, sign up for a new account. So this user put their name, their email address, phone number, password. Okay, submit. Okay, user registration successful. So in the normal flow, like after you sign up for a new account, then most likely the user will be receiving email confirmation. Like the Lamborghini system send a user confirmation say that oh, you have successfully signed up for account. Right. So this is how things can look like. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Then let's look at the next step. Of course, once the user register for the account, the user will need to log in. Right? Okay, so I go to login page, type my email address and password. Okay, log in. Okay. So this system is usually to track what are the vehicles that is owned by that user. So maybe this user is a new user, okay? So for now, the user won't see anything in this page after they log in, but it's okay. Then let's look at what will happen next. So the user will try to enter the PIN code and maybe the VIN number. Is it like a vehicle number, something like that? Okay, then submit. And yeah, finally, the user will be able to see his car or vehicle details. Like for example, what is the vehicle model? Is it released in which year? Something like that. And you can also track where is the location of the car. Okay, this is the feature of this Lamborghini system. But if you think about how users can actually receive all those informations, like they actually get all those information through the Lamborghini API. So when you look at the exact request in detail, you will notice that the browser is actually trying to request this URL, identity API version 2 vehicle with this particular ID. Okay, we usually call this as a UUID. Okay, universal ID, where it is very rare that you will get the same ID for two different things. Yeah, so it's pretty much randomized. So when the browser requests this, right, then the Lamborghini system will return this information. So this is the car ID, right? It's the same thing, and then it returns back the vehicle location, which is the one that I showed you earlier. It actually shows the vehicle location. Okay. So everything looks normal, like this is the like normally how API works. Okay, browser sends a request to API. The server returns something back, and then the browser will display something to the user, which is something like this. Okay, still looks pretty normal because we haven't found the actual problem yet. Okay, let's continue to see why API attacks can be very dangerous. Okay, so now we know that this is a place for us to put the we call it as an AP not API, the ID like of the vehicle. Okay, the ID of the vehicle. What if we try to randomize the ID and see what are the things that we will get? Okay, you see that 123 is something that it does not exist. Okay, so it returns 400. Okay, up to this point you may think that okay, it's still fine because ID 123 simply does not exist in the system. It's not a valid vehicle ID. Okay, then let's look at next. What if we try to figure out, like, what's the vehicle ID for someone else vehicle, which means you try to look at someone else car, which is not yours, but other people's. Okay. Okay, so apparently you also notice that this Lamborghini website also has something called a forum. So I can look at what are the things that other car owners has posted in the forum. Okay, so let's look at those info. So here's what we call it as issues when it comes to API, right? So when we request this forum page, right, in the backend, we are requesting this API called Community API version 2, Community Post Listen. So we try to see, look at what are the recent posts by the user, Lamborghini user. And then this is what the Lamborghini web server returns back to the user. So you see, this is the problem. Why this is the problem? I'm not sure if you all are familiar with OAuth's API top 10 attack. Anyone heard about this? OAuth's API top 10 attack. Anyone? Or is this something new? Yeah, top 10. You may know we have something called OAuth's top 10 attack. But we have another thing called OAuth's API top 10 attack. Okay, let me show you some information. So OWASP API top 10. So you will see the first link is OWASP's official website. It tells you all the list of the top 10 API security list, which is based on the latest year 2023 update. Okay, those are the top 10 different types of API attacks that the hackers can do. Okay, we have this broken object level authorization, broken authentication, broken object property level authorization, and so many other things. Okay, this is different than OWASP top 10. It's totally different. If OWASP top 10, we are only focusing on the web, any type of web-based attack, but not specific to API. Like you see, there are the differences is there. Okay, this is OWASP top 10, but the one that I showed you earlier is API top 10. Those are the API top 10. When you go back to this slide, right, you'll notice that this is actually a problem because why? It falls under broken object property level authorization. Which means when the developer of software engineer, when they design the application, they shouldn't return this ID back to the user. I mean someone else ID. You see, this is someone else vehicle ID, right? Generally, this shouldn't be returned back to the user when they want to see the content in the forum. So this is the problem where it is exposing excessive data. Okay, revealing sensitive data that are not necessary. So supposedly vehicle ID shouldn't be here, but somehow the vehicle ID is returned back to the user. Now, let's say I'm the hacker. Oh, I know there's a vehicle ID of someone else. Oh, it's really nice. I can try to do something else. Let's go to the next. Now you see, I'm trying to take this vehicle ID and put it in this particular request. I try to override. Okay, I try to override the request. So now you see, here's the problem. I use someone else vehicle ID, put it here. I can get a result. I will know someone else task location. Do you think this should be something that we are expecting? I mean, should we allow this to happen? No, right? Why you want to know someone else car location? Are you going to steal the person's car? Yeah, so this is very dangerous. This is already an issue with the security. Okay, supposedly when you are trying to access someone else's vehicle ID data, the server should return an error because you are not authorized to see this. But now the authorization has problem. Okay, this is what I call as a broken object level authorization, where we can reference a different object ID and get data. Now, let's think about it. If let's say you only have WAF, I mean you have a web application firewall, do you think WAF can detect this? No, right? Here's the problem. Right? WAF will think that, oh, this is just a normal request. Like, oh, it looks fine, right? You are just requesting an ID, nothing wrong. There's no injection in place, nothing wrong. But from logic point of view, when you think about it, it's more like a authorization problem. WAF is not designed to detect this, right? That's why WAF will think that this is a clean traffic. But logically, this is a problem because this user is trying to access someone else data, which is actually not a good thing. Right? This becomes an issue when we look at from the API security point of view. Okay, so now you know why API security is very important because WAF cannot detect this. Yeah, very dangerous. Right? Okay, by the way, any question until this part? All good. Okay, I'll proceed. Next is those are the real incidents, real case study. Okay, Coinbase is actually one of the crypto company. They actually provide the platform for people to buy, let's say, buy Bitcoin, buy other cryptocurrency. Okay, they notice that their trading interface, which is the user interface in the browser, has a very serious vulnerability. And you can look at this. What happened? Users get API calls from the web UI. They identify 4 key parameters for any coin-based transaction. They manipulate or change the parameters via API calls. And then they are able to sell someone else crypto. I mean, the crypto, let's say the Bitcoin, right? You know Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
They are trying to sell someone else Bitcoin, which is not its own. But when they sell the Bitcoin to other people, they get the profit. This is a very serious problem. So that's why Coinbase, this company, they pay out the largest bug bounty because someone else found this vulnerability. Luckily, this is not the actual attacker. They try to take advantage, but instead they report to this company, so the company is able to fix this problem. Imagine if there's a lot of attackers already done this, like they try to sell someone else crypto. Wow, I think it will be a very big issue. Okay. You see, this is like an example payloads that the attackers can try to do. Source account, target account, that's how they can, manipulate the data. While at the same time, the Coinbase backend system, they didn't do proper validation. Yeah. So you see the look cost, the underlying look cost is because of missing logic validation check in a retail brokerage API endpoint. Okay, so this is why someone found out this problem and report to Coinbase, and they get the bounty, which is like a money from Coinbase in the way that to say thank you to that person who found out this vulnerability. Okay, there are a few more examples that I can show, but I think I'll just keep it because of a time constraint. Let me say anything else. Maybe I take this another example. This company, Optus, they had a data breach, I think around 2 years ago. Okay, what happened was the API endpoint required no authentication to access. Wow, you know what is authentication, right? Which means login. There's an API that users don't even need to log in to see the data. That falls under the OAuth's API top 10 attacks. Okay, the attackers able to get 9.8 million user data and ask for 1 million USD ransom. Okay, the data include driver's license, Medicare ID, name, phone, email. So which means attackers doesn't need to log in. They can access the API and then wow, I can see so many data. 9.8 user. Okay, this is a very big problem. Okay, this one I think I'll just skip. Okay, but in the end, what I want to let you know is those attacks that can be done by the attackers, okay, it's not something that a normal web application firewall can detect, and it requires a very specialized product to actually capture it in terms of the, let's say, the API abuse or the weird API access behavior, okay, which is based on the OAuth's API top 10 uh, the concept, I mean the terminologies, okay. Okay, so yeah, I think that is pretty much similar to the few diagrams that I showed earlier, but yeah, this is show it another way. Why you need API security? When you only have web application firewall, which is on the left hand side, right? What they can do? They can only detect DDoS attack. They can only detect bad bot traffic. They can only detect the OAuth's top 10 attacks based on the WAF signature and maybe some positive API security that I mentioned earlier here. But other than that, they cannot do anything beyond that. Yeah. Even API gateway only can do something like authentication and authorization. and maybe some rate limiting functions. So API security is the only solution that can cover basically A to Z. Okay, from those basic API parameter abuse or until the behavior analytics, we're able to capture all the API activity. Doesn't matter whether is it a north-south API traffic or east-west API traffic. Okay. Let me see. Okay, to recap, right, those are the common API security, API endpoint problems, right? That we need to fix. First is shadow API. I mentioned earlier, shadow API is the API that the company doesn't even know that is there. Maybe the developer, right, of the software engineer, they write the API and then they just forget about it. There's no documentation say that, oh, this API is actually available. Maybe the API is a backdoor for the developer to do something, but they didn't disable it. So this becomes a shadow API. It can be a vulnerable API where the way how the API works, like, has some problems. It causes the attackers able to get something from the API. Like the example that I showed earlier, right? I can see someone else car location, which is not good. Okay, that's a vulnerable API. And then API abuse. Okay, someone is trying to abuse the API, which is something that a WAF cannot detect, right? So we need to have a behavior-based detection and response, right? Because of these three problems, we need to have a robust API security to cover all those, right? So this is basically the diagram, the overview diagram how our API security solution work. By the way, right, this API security solution previously the name is called Neosec. Okay, it was called Neosec, but Akamai bought this company and become their product. They call it the API security product. So what we have here is, in order to implement the API security, you can either implement it on-premise. Okay, for example, if the customer says that they want to have a full visibility of all the API traffic from east, west, north, south, then they can implement the so-called API security node inside their environment. Okay, inside the environment. So this API security node will collect all the API request data, and then they send all the data to this so-called data lake. Okay, this data lake is based on cloud. Okay, the cloud will store all the data, API activity data for 30 days by default. Of course, customer can request for, they want to store the data for 60 days, 90 days, but of course it will be a additional charge. But default is 30 days. Yeah. So why we need to have a data lake is when you look at the API attacks, like, sometimes you cannot immediately understand that this is an attack by looking at the real-time traffic. Okay, you may see that, oh, right now user is doing this request. It may look normal, but when you look at the past history, how this user was accessing your API, it looks malicious. Yeah, so that's why data lake is very important to go back and see the history of what this user was trying to do with your API. If you don't have the data lake, you cannot achieve that protection. Okay, so we store all the data in the data lake. And then if let's say our API security notice that, oh, something's wrong with this user, they are trying to do some suspicious activity in your API, they can trigger automated response. So this response triggers back to the API security node. They can do some integration with, let's say, the customer's existing firewall in their environment, right? They may be using Palo Alto firewall, Barracuda, something like that. Then they can do the integration. So the response straight away tells the environment, right? I mean, depends on what product that they are using. They can straight immediately block certain types of traffic from here. And then another good part about our API security is we provide managed threat hunting. Okay, so even though customer may be able to do by themselves, but they may not have the technical resources or SOC to help them monitor their API traffic. So we have a team of expertise in Akamai that does the threat hunting for the customer. So they can help to look at the past data in the data lake and see whether the SOC team in Akamai they found some suspicious activity or not. If they found anything suspicious, they can actually inform the customer, sending them an alert, telling them, hey, your API might be abused by this particular user, user 1, user 2. So please take a look whether you want to take action or not. So this is actually, I would say, one of our competitive differentiation with other API security provider. We have a competitor called Illumio. Not sure if you heard about this before. So Illumio, if I'm not mistaken, they're not able to provide these threat hunting services. Yeah, so this is actually quite unique in Akamai itself.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
imagine if you are, you know what you're doing today. If today your customer get a breach, if you will have, you can't, you're stuck. You cannot do look back, you cannot assist customer in any forensic discovery, where the gaps, where it came in, you cannot provide that service. So one of the good things about this solution, it actually empowers partners like yourself to be able to sell over and beyond services. All right, especially around, you know, when they got attacked. All right, you don't get stuck. You are able to provide some level of visibility and support to your customer in an event of a ransomware attack, something like that. Okay, like even suspecting. So, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only solution in the market that allows you a look back function, where basically you can go over a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, like what exactly happened to lead to the attack, something like that. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Paul, for the comments. Okay, so as I mentioned, it can provide some kind of integration capabilities. Like, so you can see those are some of the example integrations that we can provide whenever our API security module detects some suspicious or malicious activities by the API user. Then they can trigger some kind of response and prevention capabilities with the following partners, I would say. Like they can integrate with the Google Cloud or AWS or F5 to trigger some kind of protections, or even using a webhook. So webhook is mainly to trigger some kind of notification, right? So customers may be using some incident management tools like Jira. They may be using webhook, or maybe using Microsoft Teams. They want to receive a notification from our API security about any possible suspicious activity that can be happening in API. So they can also trigger some webhook kind of things. Okay, and this is how we can help to collect all the API activity logs, which can be collected from Nginx or F5, or even we can mirror the traffic from Kubernetes, AWS. So we get all the API data and send it to our data lake in the cloud. Okay. But there's one thing that I would say, let's say like you may be having an existing AAP customer. Okay. Might be using AAP solution at the moment, and they said, oh, they are really interested to try the API security feature. Maybe you want to give them the POC. So this is actually become a very good use case, because our API security can provide a few clicks integration straight away from our AAP. So which means in the Akamai control center, right, I just click few buttons, I send all the traffic that goes to AAP and also sends a copy to our data lake. So this is actually the fastest way to get your customer on board to a POC. If they want to try the API security and they are already an existing AAP customer, which is basically the easiest way to try this out. Of course, we also support on-premise implementation, right? It's just that it will take some time. The POC will take some time, like 1 or 2 weeks, in order to set up everything and send all the traffic to the data lake. So the best way is to do this kind of on CDN integration where we take all the traffic that goes to Akamai and also sends a copy to data lake. Yeah, it's really fast. Okay, those are the differentiator as I mentioned earlier, and also Paul has also mentioned. I can say that we are the only one or one of the few API security vendors that provides this data lake that allows you to go back 1, 2, or even 4 weeks of API traffic history to find out the potential suspicious traffic in the environment. Okay, and then the managed threat hunting services is something that most of the competitors, they don't even provide. They just sell you the solution. Okay, this is API security, but they don't have the services to help customers perform the threat hunting. Okay, of course, you as a partner, if your expertise in API security, you maybe also do your own threat hunting as well. It's just that customers may also choose to go for the Akamai provided managed threat hunting services if, let's say, you are not ready for this kind of services to do by your own. Okay. And then there's one interesting story about API, right? Is the person who founded this company, the Neosec company, before it bought by Akamai, right? It was coming from Palo Alto. If you know, Palo Alto is very famous with the firewall solution, and also ED, if I'm not mistaken, XDR, right? So when this person left Palo Alto and they start this company called Neosec, right? They try to use this XDR concept but implement in the API security. So that's why I mentioned you can have an automated response back to your environment to do some integration, because it tries to leverage the XDR style SaaS platform to be able to achieve what are things that you see right now. Okay. This is actually the one that I mentioned earlier. We call it as a native connector. So with few clicks on the Akamai Control Center with the AAP, we can send all the traffic from the Akamai to the API security data lake. Okay, so this is a really good use case for POC. Yeah, if the customer is interested after, let's say, you do the pitching and demonstration for the customer. Yeah, this is actually a really good. You see, those are the benefits, right? With few clicks, you can set this up, and then zero touch deployment, no implementation project, no hidden infrastructure and networking costs. Yeah, because everything is done automatically by Akamai to send all the traffic to the data lake. So you don't have to install anything in the customer environment. But still, if customer says they want full visibility into the API traffic, not just north south, but also want east west, right? They still need to install the API security node, because this is the only way you can get the full visibility. So this visibility with the native connector is just for traffic goes to Akamai only. Yeah, but for POC, this is actually more than enough to prove the value, right, to the customer. Threat hunting, I just mentioned earlier, so I won't go deep to that. And this is the our shadow hunt or threat hunting services. What are the things that they can provide to the customer, like the threat report, monthly review, shadow hunt alert, shadow hunt inquiry, right? Those are the services that Akamai shadow hunt team provides to the customer. And then, yeah, simple POC process as what you see, they are just like about 5 steps. Kick off, provide access to API activity data by doing the the on CDN native integration, and then POC in progress to discover the API, API traffic, perform presentation, and then transition to production. So it's actually a really fast process, okay, that you can onboard customer that is currently using AAP already to use API security. So this is like a comparison, even though I also mentioned a few times, like why WAF is not really able to protect you 100% against API attacks, but this is the another tables that you can refer. Right? API security solution looks at bad behavior rather than bad requests. Okay, so it does not care about your signature. Okay, it only cares about how the user access the API in which way lah. What are the patterns? Okay, and then WAF use signature, but API security does not use that. It more on the behavior analysis with machine learning, and then API security looks at the logic abuse and some other comparisons that you can look into it. And yeah, another table for your reference. Later on, I will share this slide to you all if you want to understand API security compared to WAF or API gateway. What are the things that they can do or cannot do, right? Okay, to recap, what are the advantages of having our API security solution compared to other competitors? Like I mentioned, one of the competitor of of our API security is let me check again because we have few competitors like let me take a look.
Eric,
Yeah, sorry.
I understand that API security and AAP is two different solution or this or API security is an advanced feature of AAP.
You can say they are considered separate feature,
Separate.
but API security is usually being used to complement the existing AAP. So AAP you can think of is more like a basic protection, but if you want the comprehensive, more advanced protection for API, customer needs to go for API security. Yeah, and you can also say that yeah, it's okay. I mean, API security, even though most of the use case is we integrate with the customer existing AAP, but customers can still purchase API security as a standalone solution. If they say, or they already have existing WAF in their on-premise, they may be using Barracuda WAF or F5 WAF, but they just need to have an API security module. They also can do that. Like they just purchase this API security module, install in the on-premise environment, and then send all the API activity logs and data to the cloud, which is our data lake.
So for that case, we only need to send, I mean, sit up and for web traffic, then send API to the cloud, right?
Yes.
For that case.
Yeah. That means it doesn't necessarily the customer must use Akamai AAP. Okay, it is not required, although this is the most common use case because we provide the easy integration with AAP and API security, right? But still, customer is not required to purchase AAP to use API security. If they say they already have existing WAF in their environment, then they just purchase API security, then just do the integration with their environment.
Okay.
They don't have to buy AAP. So there are few ways customers can go for. But of course, the best situation is we ask customer to purchase AAP and API security.
Right?
Then it's the best of both worlds.
Okay.
It's just that it's not mandatory.
Oh, okay.
They can
Right.
buy separately. Okay. Actually, I want to check where we have few competitors that I want to share with you. Sorry, just now I mentioned about Illumio, like Illumio is not API security vendor. I was confused. It was a microsegmentation vendor. Yeah, so sorry about that. It may make you confused earlier. So we have hold on. Okay, so we have a few key competitors of our API security. Is one of them is called No Name. Yeah, the name sounds a bit weird lah, because it says No Name, but yeah, No Name is basically the brand. No Name Security. Yeah, so they are also our the competitor of our API security solution. Another one is called Salt Security. Okay, Salt Security is also another competitor of our API security solution. Okay, but if you really want to look at what are the competitive differentiator between them, right? Let me show you
You
this.
consider Impova as a competitor, don't you?
As far as I know, sorry, Imperwa, they can only provide this basic API security, like AAP, like AAP, but they cannot achieve that kind of a API behavior analysis or API abuse detection. If you really want to compare apple to apple, right, you should look at the no name and salt security. Those are more accurate. Even if you want to compare this with Cloudflare, I don't think it really makes sense because Cloudflare never have this API abuse detection. Yeah, Cloudflare can only do this, the one that I show you here. This is what Cloudflare can do right now, but they can't do whatever I show you in the slide. Yeah, for the abuse detection. So, few advantages. First is, if let's say they already an existing AAP customer, of course, easy. We just do a few clicks integration, then done. We send all the API traffic that they goes to Akamai, like send a copy to our API security data lake. Okay, number two is because we are SaaS-based solution, I mean our cloud-based solution that stores the data lake, right? So which means all the data storage and processing is done on the cloud. So customers does not need to implement the storage by their own in their on-premise environment. The most that they can do is they need to install the so-called API security node to collect the data. Yeah, only for data collection, but in the end, all the data still sends back to the cloud for the processing and the behavioral analysis. Okay, number three, through behavioral analysis and threat hunting to store all the past API activities. Not all competitors can do this. Yeah, like few API security competitors, like they only look at the current API traffic, the real-time one, but in order to look at suspicious activity. But without data lake, you still cannot look back at what happened in the past to give you more context, right? What are the relationship between the things that the hackers did for the past 2 days compared to right now? So those other competitors, they cannot achieve that full protection. Then number four is ability to perform multi-API entity tracking with unlimited entities. So entity is like, you can think of the vehicle ID that I showed earlier. You can think of that is one of the entity. So our solution can actually track unlimited entities. Okay, because one API URL maybe not only they have vehicle ID, but they may also have user ID in the same URL, right? So they can track multiple entities altogether. Okay, managed threat hunting. The only provider that can does this is our API security solution. No name, SOC security. As far as I know, they don't provide this kind of threat hunting services. Lastly, customer support. Yeah, as you already know, like Akamai support is considered top notch if compared to other competitors. Yeah, so it's not an assumption for API security. So it's basically the same. All right. I think this is the last slide that I want to show you for the API security sharing session. Just wondering if you have any questions that you want to ask about our API security solution. Yeah, if no question, then I'll do some demo for you all. And basically, you all can also access the API security demo through the same SE Central that I showed you earlier when I demonstrate how you can access the AAP demo, right? Yeah, which is this one. So let's say when you go back to the SE Central, sorry, which is this page, can you try to access this again? Try to look at the security solution and try to find API security. Oh, seems like my page has refreshed. But if let's say you see top 5 demos use, there's an API security option, you can just click on it. But if not, go to the security tab and find API security. Yeah, this one. Yeah, hopefully you should be able to see this. Okay, somehow I can't click it. Weird. Let me go back to the dashboard. Okay, as usual, this process is the same as how you request for other demos. It's the same. Yeah, put in your name, password, email, company, and then submit. And then you log into this SE Central by using the password that you have set here, and then you will get another credential to log into the control center. But I believe last time I already create an account, right? So I don't think I want to create the account again. So I want to figure out where did I put my password. Okay. Let me see if this is the right username. Oh yeah, this is the right username. Okay, so I still have this credential. By the way, for your information, once you register the what we call it, the demo access, right? The access will last for 2 months. So you see, I think I created this last month, 21st April. So the expiry date is 21st June. Okay, so yeah, you have 2 months to access this demo using this password, but you still can request again once this expires. So I'm going to log into the control center again, but this time is a totally different password. Okay, I'm looking for the login page. I paste the URL and then I paste the password. Oh, you can log in 4 more times. Yeah, because I log in one time previously. Still proceed to skip the 2FA. Alright, now you are on the same Akamai control center. It's just that I log in as different user. Okay, it's a different user, but actually, right, the actual API security dashboard is not this one. What does it mean? Let me show you. Like when you click on this, try to scroll down and find this section. Click on API security. Okay, click on API security. And this is the so-called native integration that I showed you earlier. Okay, that's like just few clicks and then you do the on CDN integration. So this will send all the API traffic to our API security data lake. Okay, the integration is already done. But in order to access the actual dashboard, like it's not through here. You see that we have a link on the right hand side. Then I'm going to click on it. It will bring us to another URL. This is the actual dashboard for our API security solution. It's just that because this solution was not originally developed by Akamai, it was from Neosec, but we buy over this Neosec company. That's why the full integration with our Akamai control center is not yet done. Yeah, that's why we still have a different dashboard. But anyway, this is actually a good place for you to do demo for your customer. And I would say this is the recommended way, as in, I don't recommend you to build your own lab for this because of one key reason. If you want to show all those information, you have to simulate your own API attack. Okay, which is not easy. Not easy. It is not like you can set up the CDN and WAF just like that and then simulate the attack. This one is way more difficult because you want to show all those data like what you want to tell the customer that okay, our dashboard is able to identify all those API abuse. This is only possible when you try to simulate the actual API abuse activity, which is not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, that's why just leverage this demo when you want to pitch to your customer. This is the easiest way. Yeah. So now you see this is like a overview dashboard. Like it tells you what are the alerts that Neosec has generated based on your API activity. Okay, so those are just like a entity ID, email address, the price, the name, things like that. So different API entity, it may generate different alert depends on what are the things that our API security backend has detected. And then top alerting user, what does that mean? Is, as you know, API endpoints can have authentication if based. So from there, we identify who are the users logging into your API endpoint. And all the users that have been logged into your API endpoint, we don't really show the username here, but instead we show them something like a ID. So each user represents an ID, and it's actually a good thing because some customers, they don't want the actual username to be uploaded in the data lake. So we actually do some kind of data processing, as in the sensitive data of the user won't be uploaded to the data lake. Yeah, we call it as a tokenization. Okay, we have this kind of technology that helps do the masking of the sensitive data. They can only see the tokenized data just like this. And then on the right hand side, you see all the recent alerts. Okay, what are the alerts that have been generated? If let's say there's a warning, you may need to put more attention. Okay, it's a medium alert. Yeah, if let's say suddenly you notice there's a high alert or something more critical you may need to look into. Yeah, for example, data scraping. So this is like our API security backend tries to tell you that they have detected a data scraping activity on this API endpoint. Version 2 invoicing invoices. What is the ID of the invoice? So they say this merchant ID. You can say merchant ID is basically a user. Okay, it's just a fancy name lah. They call a user. They call it merchant ID. Okay, they said this user successfully called this endpoint 30 times in the last 10 minutes. On average, every 10 minutes, a typical IP calls the endpoint successfully 3.4 times. So this alert is trying to tell you that this particular user is trying to do something fishy, suspicious, where they shouldn't request this API endpoint so many times, 30 times. Right? It's like an invoice, like invoice generally user doesn't really need to request so many times and maybe different ID. But this user has requested 30 times, which is suspicious. Why this user wants to request 30 different invoice at really short time? And even on average, it cost the endpoint 3.4 times every 10 minutes, which is not a good thing. Okay, so that's why this is like an alert that they generate for you. And top endpoints, it tells you that who is the most popular API endpoint URL that they have identified. Right. Okay, and then discovery. That's why they tells you like a list of each of the endpoints, and then new endpoints by the services with sensitive data. This give more information about the API activities that is happening in the customer environment. So, for example, these services with sensitive data means the customer may have invoicing API. So the invoicing API may be handling those sensitive data, like the user address, user email, name, and phone number. So it tells you which one may have a higher risk of having sensitive data exposed if not protected correctly. Another one that I believe is very useful is when you open up the alerts tab. This actually shows you the full information compared to the dashboard overview. Yeah, this is very similar, the data that they're showing, just that when you click view all, it brings you to the alerts tab. You'll be seeing more information from the dashboard, tells you every single alert that they have detected. Okay, so you notice that the alert is high or medium. I think this is where the customer need to look into that in detail, why this is happening, and it basically gives you all the full details. Just now I've explained. I think I've explained which one. The high. I think data access. Yeah. I've explained this particular alert, and it gives you a full description. What does this user trying to do? Okay, and give you more information and recommendation how you can resolve the problem. I give you another example is, let's say this one, right, account takeover. So this alert is trying to tell you that this user or merchant ID has tried to log in from two different IP address. Right? Do you think this is possible in a short period of time? Suddenly, the user was using this IP address to log in, and in the next minute, they jump to this IP address 23.167. It may be possible if they use VPN lah, but in general, end users rarely use VPN, right? So this could be very suspicious. Where let's say now you are in Vietnam, why suddenly in the next minute you can log in from Canada? It's a really weird behavior. So it gives you this alert, tries to tell you that what are the more information if the user is doing this, and some recommendation. Try to establish whether this is actually the same API consumer using a VPN. Yeah, because I mentioned like it can be a VPN behavior. They jump from Vietnam to Canada IP address. It's possible. But if let's say this user was not using VPN, maybe it's a attacker was trying to attack this particular user, then this is also possible. And that's where the security team can actually analyze and put some comments into each alert. Okay, then that's how you can do some demonstration of our API security solution to your customer, and make them realize the benefit of having an API security rather than just a normal WAF, because normal WAF won't be able to tell all those things. Okay, this is more like a logic abuse, API abuse. Okay, I think that's all for my demonstration for the API security. So if any questions, please let me know. If not, maybe we can have like a 10-minute break. Then we come back and I will be covering the last agenda for today, which is a microsegmentation. And they have served the dessert there, so we can have some dessert. Okay, so I'll come back in maybe 10 minutes, like 3:40 p.m.
Alex, could you help me to check because that six up
Hold on here.
if you cannot manage the Would like some cake? Would like some cake?
Sorry?
Would like some cake?
Oh yeah, sure, sure. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. All right, so yeah, can we continue for the last agenda for
Sorry.
today? No,
I
it's-
question.
yeah.
I request a no. Here, I request
Username.
demo, and I already have username and password. But
Mm-mm.
how it's great.
Oh, it's gray.
Yeah.
I think there's a problem with the URL.
URL.
Okay, so because I think that there should be something after this. Can you type manually? Question mark. Oh sorry.
Yes.
Type a question mark. Demo DMO equals to
API set.
API site.
Okay.
See if you can see this. Okay. Then you try to put in your credential, user and password.
Ah.
Yeah, now it works.
Okay. Thank you.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, so because I think some of you may be facing this problem, like when let's say you have already registered for API security account, but you don't know how to log in, maybe you can't find the login URL, right? So the best way you can do is right now you see this is the register page for API security. You can just simply change the register word to login, and then now you get a login page. Okay, that's how what you can do lah. If you have problems looking for the login page for API security. Okay. All right. Our last agenda for today will be let me find out the slide. Microsegmentation. Okay. So this will be our last agenda. So yeah, I think the notification is now a bit annoying. I try to find a way to mute. Okay, let's start the session. Okay, so this one will be more on a sharing session, especially for the microsegmentation solution. But for your information, our microsegmentation solution is part of the Zero Trust portfolio. Like if you still remember the slide where we have a big circle and then we have a Zero Trust, application security and infrastructure security. So the segmentation is fall under the left hand side, the Zero Trust security. So you can say that our microsegmentation solution is just one part of entire Zero Trust. As you can see, we still have other different product like ZTNA, Enterprise Application Access (MFA), and also Secure Internet Access. But for today's focus, I'm just going to cover segmentation. Okay. And yeah, before we talk about microsegmentation, I want you to understand about the threat landscape for ransomware. Okay, because they are directly related. As in, why customers are looking for segmentation, one of the main reason is to deal with ransomware attack. Okay, now I want to talk about what is ransomware. I believe all of you knows what is ransomware, right? So maybe I don't need to explain again in detail. Okay, it is going to encrypt your files if let's say you got ransomware and you may need to pay for the money, and even that you might not be able to get back all your files. They don't want to give you the key to decrypt. Right, that's the problem of ransomware. And if you look at the statistics in this diagram, okay, in Asia Pacific, by regions, like from May 2021 until April 2022, you can see this data is slightly older, but I think it's still relevant anyway. So you can see that Australia is the top targeted country for the ransomware attack. Okay, then followed by India, Indonesia, New Zealand, China, and then others. So Vietnam could be fall under the last bar, the last uh, column. Yeah, last column. Okay, 18.2%. So I'm not too sure what's the exact number for Vietnam, but even that, right, still need to take note that the ransomware attack can happen anytime. Okay, you may not know whether you are going to be the next target tomorrow. Okay, you may not know when you are going to get targeted by the attackers. Okay, that's why we usually need to prepare earlier in advance to prevent ransomware attacks happen in your organization. Okay, when you look at industry, those are the top industries that we have identified for those who got ransomware attack before. The top one, 18.2%, falls under business services. Okay, and then followed by energy, utilities, telecommunication. Then number 3 is hospitality. Number 4, retail companies, and then insurance, manufacturing. But you can say basically, almost every industry can get targeted. Just that this is a statistic to show you which one get targeted the most, right? And then attacks by the target revenue size, which means the the victims that the attackers who wants to attack, right? Whether the revenue size fall under which range. So we see that the range from 0 to 50 US dollar, 50 million US dollar revenue is the most targeted one with 40.9% victims of the ransomware, and then followed by the 51 million until 250 million USD falls under this category is about 31.8%, and then followed by 9.1%, where the revenue size is between 251 million until 500 million. But you see, it's a bit interesting where if the company revenue size is between 500 million until 1 billion, no one is targeted. It's 0%. But anything beyond that, like 1 billion, you can see it still consists of 18.2% of the victims fall under this range. Okay, but the story of this diagram is to tell you basically any company can get targeted, right? Doesn't matter whether you are a small company where you only have a 1 million revenue, or you have a more than 1 billion revenue, you may still get targeted. Some attackers, they just want to try luck, right? They just simply attack any companies that they can find and then see whether there's a backdoor that they can access, and then do a lateral movement and eventually compromise your entire network. Right? They are just trying luck. So that's why even small companies may get targeted, and you may have all your files be encrypted and you cannot continue your business operation. And then some of the terms that good to know, like, is in the entire ransomware ecosystem, they actually have a proper organization that does those things, like for example, first we have something called the initial access broker. So what they do is they will hack into someone's network, but they won't do anything further, but they just sell the the access to other people. Okay, that's why they call it initial access broker. Okay, they won't really do anything extra like steal data from the internet or do lateral movement. They just want to sell the access to other people. Usually they will sell in the dark web, right? And you can see that in the dark web itself, they even post it out and says that okay, someone got access to maybe this bank spear in the United States, and then the company revenue size is 3.2 billion, and they sell the access for 6,500 US dollar. Oh, it's a very huge amount. Like they hack into a system, they sell it, and then they earn 6,500 USD. Wow, easy money, right? So this is the what initial access broker does. We have another team in the entire ecosystem. It's called the ransomware as a service operator. So what they do, they develop the ransomware software. Okay, it's like they are software developer but for ransomware. Okay, and they sell those ransomware in the market, mostly in the dark web, and they may be also including some value added services like they will help processing the payment coming from the victim who got affected by ransomware, because one of the main goal if you want to conduct the ransomware attack is you lock all their files and then you ask them to pay you money, right? Yeah, so they also provide these services. Then number three, we have ransomware affiliates. Okay, it's a bit complicated here, but basically this refers to a person or a group who runs access to this thing. Okay, and then they orchestrate interaction into the network using the IAB and encrypt files. They are basically the actual person who does the dirty work to hack into the system and get your system locked or encrypted. Okay, and if you put these three teams together, like this is the uh, diagram to shows you that how they work with each other. Okay, access broker sells the access to the ransomware as a service affiliate, and then the IS operator, they develop the ransomware and some of the tools to the affiliate as well, and then this guy at the bottom is the one who does the dirty work, right? So you see, it's really complicated how the ransomware market works, how they can coordinate with each other to achieve what they want to do. Right? Okay, you can even see that they have a really proper structure in the organization. That let's say you have a HR team, that hires new people to be part of the ransomware group, and then they even have a finance team, like they do money laundering. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, because if you get the money from the victim, you must find a way to do some money laundering. Like if not, you cannot straight away use that money. If not, they will get caught by FBI or uh, the police or something like that. Right, so this is actually a very interesting what we call the ecosystem of the ransomware itself. So uh, as you can see, like ransomware has already caused a lot of damage. Right, it can be like every industry in the world may get affected, but this is just few examples. Like for example, if the ransomware has attacked a airline company, like then it caused travel disruption. Imagine like you want to go to a country, maybe you want to fly to Malaysia. Okay, so then suddenly the airline company is not working because their files all get encrypted and they cannot process your check-in, check-out, immigration, and all the other things, like, and this caused a really huge problem. And let's say you want to take the 6 p.m. flight later, but because of this travel disruption, you cannot board to the flight, and maybe we need to wait for a few days. Yeah, this is a really huge damage if this really happens. Yeah, it actually happened on this SpiceJet company, airline company, right? If let's say attack some other industry, it cause food supply disruption, and yeah, can be every industry. Depends on what industry they are. It will have a different kind of impact. And ransomware can even become a national level threat. So what does that mean? There's a country called the Republic of Costa Rica. Their government actually got ransomware attack before. So imagine the country government is infected with ransomware. Then what happened is a lot of government related tasks like file taxes, and then contribute, withdraw from the social security and things like that. And most of the government operations need to be stopped because all their files are locked and they cannot do anything. Right. This actually caused a very huge financial impact for the government where it cost 30 millions per day. It was a very serious issue in 2 years ago, right? So now you understand how dangerous a ransomware attack is, and what I want to show you is, okay, imagine you have two different companies. The way they set up their security is different. So the first company, like you can imagine the left hand side, they do not have proper segmentation. Okay, they don't have proper segmentation. So maybe they have 10 networks. Like 10 networks can talk to each other freely. They do not have any proper firewall in place to block the communication. So if let's say inside their network, they have 100 servers. As long as only one server got infected by ransomware, the ransomware can actually spread. Like they can do lateral movement, try to compromise all the other 99 servers. So if they don't do the segmentation, that's what happened. Everyone get affected. Okay, HR, finance, CEO department, everyone get affected. Right. This is the consequences of not having the segmentation in place. But on the other hand, let's say company B, they are very smart. They know that the best way to reduce the impact of the attack is do segmentation. So you may have 10 different networks that you want to isolate them, right? So network A cannot talk to network B unless necessary for some reason, right? But yeah, if they do this kind of proper segmentation, like finance department, their servers can only talk to each other, or C-level department, their PCs can only talk to each other, but they cannot talk to other servers. So in that way, even though the attacks might happen, like one of their server might get compromised with ransomware, but still because you have the segmentation, the compromised machine, they cannot compromise the others. Okay, so here's the idea I want to tell you. When it comes to segmentation, right, the main idea is to assume that attacks are going to happen. Okay, we assume that these are going to happen, but what we can do is to try to reduce the impact. Okay, we don't want the left hand side to happen where attackers infect a machine and then going to infect all the rest of the machines. Okay, we don't want this to happen. So we are going to assume something is going to happen, but we minimize the impact, reduce the impact where if this machine gets infected, only this machine gets infected. Okay, but the rest of the operations are still running. Yes, that's the key idea of segmentation. And maybe when you explain this to your customer, right, your customer will ask you, hey, I already have endpoint protection. I have the best solution like CrowdStrike to protect me from ransomware. I'm not sure if you heard about CrowdStrike, or maybe Kaspersky can be also. It is like an endpoint protection. But there's a lot of endpoint protection product in the market lah. But I'm just mentioning CrowdStrike because CrowdStrike is one of the most popular in the enterprise, and many people say that it's the most effective one. But still, I heard some story like previously there was a company, they are using CrowdStrike as their endpoint protection, but still there was one time where the ransomware can still slip in and the machine get infected, right? Even though they have the antivirus and endpoint protection, but it does not 100% protect. And this is why you need to educate the customer. Hey, you have endpoint protection doesn't mean everything. If let's say you don't do a proper network segmentation, you allow the machine to talk to each other, then congratulations. If ransomware attacks successfully, then your entire network will still get compromised. Right. So that's why we when it comes to this kind of argument, like we want to educate them where microsegmentation is more like we want to complement their existing endpoint protection solution. We are not saying that we want to replace them or we want to tell the customer, hey, you don't need endpoint protection, you just use this, because they are two different things. Like endpoint protection deals with virus. Okay, they want to detect the virus and block it. But this one is to assume that attacks is going to happen, so we isolate them. So they should work each other. It's not like you only need one of them. Yeah, it's not like this. So that's the good point you want to uh, talk to your customer. Then segmentation. To be honest, is not a new concept. What I mean is many companies they tried to do this segmentation by themselves for many years ago. If you know something called VLAN, okay, VLAN tagging where you have a switch, right? Maybe the switch has 24 ports, but it doesn't mean that the 24 ports can talk to each other because you put different VLAN ID. Okay, so maybe you only want to allow access from VLAN 1 to VLAN 2 if you configure it. If not, VLAN 1, VLAN 2, VLAN 3, by default, they not talk to each other. So only all the devices that connected to the same VLAN ID, like for example, 5 servers connect to the same VLAN ID, although different switches, they can talk to each other. Yeah. So this is the early times how companies do segmentation by mainly using VLAN, or maybe they use routers, like they split into different network. Yeah, that's how people did last time. But you will slowly notice that this can cause a lot of trouble. It's not easy to maintain. Or even maybe customers may have their own firewall. They said, okay, I buy a hardware firewall in their on-premise network, then I isolate different traffic for different network. Yeah, this is doable. Technically, it's doable, but practically, in the long run, like imagine the customer has a lot of networks. Maybe there are a lot of servers. Some customers they may have 10,000 servers, 100,000 servers. How you want to use the traditional way to do the segmentation? So that's why you see those traditional way it kill agility because it may introduce a traffic disruption, network choke points. It will slow everything down. Secondly, is the lack of security, especially when nowadays many things are encrypted. Okay, you don't even know what the traffic is trying to send, like in the encrypted environment, and then it costs a lot. As in, you need to spend a lot of money in order to maintain the segmentation things that you have implemented in the environment. Let's not talk about those large companies. Like if large companies, they may need to purchase so many hardware to do the segmentation, so that cause a big problem for them if they use the traditional way. So that's why many companies they start to look into micro segmentation. Okay, you see the keyword like micro, like is it actually brings a big difference compared to just normal network segmentation. So micro-segmentation is something more advanced, basically. Yeah. So I will talk about in detail of what micro-segmentation can actually do. Okay. But generally, those companies, why they are looking for micro-segmentation is because of these few things. First, they want to reduce attack surface. Okay. Secondly, is the reduced cost of compliance. So cost of compliance, that means that maybe some companies they need to follow some PCI DSS or HIPAA compliance, but if they don't follow the compliance, right, and then one day they got compromised, and they actually have to pay for like a penalty to the regulator, yeah, because they didn't follow and something happened. Okay. Then number three is a simplified merger and acquisition activity. So the good example of merger and acquisition is like Akamai bought Neosec, they bought Gadicor, they bought over different products like Linode as well. So this is what it was a merger and acquisition. Right? And how you want to make sure after you bought over a company, you want to maintain the same security. That's also something that the company is looking at. And then number four, ensure business continuity. Back to the thing I mentioned earlier. The main idea of microsegmentation is to isolate the network, assume that attacks will happen. So you want to assume that attacks will happen, and if let's say one server get compromised, the rest of the 99 servers or maybe 1,000 servers can still running. So they only need to fix one server, not 1,000 server. So this ensures business continuity, and it does not stop the business running. Number five, improve operational efficiency. Yeah, we are looking for ways to manage the segmentation security policy easier. Like not like you want to maintain 100 firewalls like that. And lastly, securely embrace digital transformation. Yeah, some companies why they want to go for micro-segmentation is because they just want to do digital transformation. They say that, oh, this is a new technology, we must go for new technology. Yeah, some companies like a C-level or CISO, this is their mindset lah. Yeah. But then when the companies are looking for micro-segmentation solution, they may be facing these few problems. First is they are worried that if they purchase a micro-segmentation product, they cannot see the entire thing. Limited visibility lah, that's what I mean. So this may give them the anxiety, like they cannot see everything, then how they want to protect everything. Okay. Secondly is they worry that implementing microsegmentation is really complicated or really difficult. So they are worried about this problem where, let's say, if you want to make some changes to the segmentation, right, you need to keep restarting the device and introduce downtime, which they don't want. Lastly, infrastructure changes. So nowadays you may see that the application are no longer running just on-premise physical server or virtual machine. A lot of case where you see customer they start to use containerized application or a SaaS application or even serverless. So those are the things that they are worrying if let's say they implement micro-segmentation solution, then they will have problems with all those. But basically, those problems can be solved if they choose our micro-segmentation solution. Okay, I want to show you how the legacy way of segmentation and modern micro-segmentation uh, difference. Like, okay, as I mentioned, the micro it actually means different thing. And when you look at this diagram, right, if let's say we are still using the traditional way of network segmentation, it's going to cause some problems on the left hand side. You see, for example, network visibility, they can only see north south traffic. Okay. Secondly, when you implement the network segmentation, it will bring a huge impact to the network, as in the entire network implementation has to rebuild again, something like that. Yeah, it's a very big project. Then number three, as I mentioned, people tend to use VLAN, right? So VLAN actually doesn't really gives you a really proper or really detailed segmentation because it only do the segmentation on the switch layer 2, not layer 3, layer 4. Right, that's the problem. And security enforcement, maybe some of the devices like firewall, they can do up to layer 4. Like they can check the port number and then block or allow, but still it's not enough when you look at the microsegmentation later. And lastly is management, which means it's complicated to implement the entire network segmentation in the traditional way. Okay, and when you compare with the right hand side, like modern microsegmentation, uh, not only it covers not sub communication but it also covers east west, like from data center A to data center B. They can also have this full visibility. Number two is when you implement microsegmentation, we don't need to basically redo the entire network architecture because what you need to do is just to install agent, a software, a software that you install in, let's say, your laptop or your server, and then that's all. Yeah, it's very easy. Number three, policy. You can actually set a really specific policy to say that maybe uh, you want to allow server A to talk to server B, but only when is using port 1234 and with a specific application process, maybe Nginx, something like that. So they have this kind of policy enforcement up to layer 7 and even the visibility. So it tells you that whether which particular process in the system is talking to another server. They're not just looking at the server IP address and port number. This is already outdated. And nowadays, a lot of financial customers, they are actually looking into this microsegmentation because of this benefit. It can look into the process level. Okay, and then lastly, of course, it's easier to implement, a lot faster, and they don't have to worry about so many different problems that they have with the legacy method. And then they can see everything in the single pane of glass, right? When you have a modern microsegmentation, especially talk about our Gadi core microsegmentation solution. Say those are the benefits like that you can highlight to customer. If customer choose to go for microsegmentation rather than the traditional network segmentation, they can save a lot of time in terms of implementation. You see, like 6 weeks compared to 1.5 years if you do in the traditional way. It saves so many times. And then less risk. If you implement microsegmentation, it can achieve up to 99% attack surface reduction, and then less cost. In 3 years, you can achieve 106% of return of investment ROI. And lastly, less implicit trust, which means we are following the zero trust concept, like where we should assume that no one is trustable unless you allow specific request or traffic to go through. Yeah. Okay. Don't just take my word on it. And in fact, microsegmentation, our microsegmentation solution, as already highlighted by the popular analysts like Gartner and Forrester. Yeah, they actually gives a really positive comment about our microsegmentation solution, and even some customer like UBS and I'm not sure how to pronounce that bank name. Basically, this is their feedback after they have implemented a Gadi core microsegmentation solution in their environment. All right.
How about the setup with cannot install yourself?
Okay. I think that's going to be a good question coming from customer as well, but I'll be covering later on. Yeah. Let me cover a few more slides.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So for raster wave, we have this diagram specifically for microsegmentation solution, and you can see that our Akamai technologies name is located in the leader. Sorry, it's hard to zoom in. I don't know why. Okay. Anyway, this is basically the leader shape, leader wave, where you can see Akamai is at the top right corner. We have definitely few competitors like Illumio, another microsegmentation vendor, and you may see VMware and Cisco is also the picture, but they are not as strong as us. You can say that. Okay. All right. So what is our approach to the microsegmentation? Is these three key items. Okay. First, we want to visualize the traffic. What I mean by visualize is, let's say in your network, you have a lot of servers, like 1,000 servers, but you don't know like how those 1,000 servers are currently talk to each other. So we have a really powerful visualization engine, like they can actually give you a very simplified diagram like this. Instead of showing you 1,000 servers here, I just show you a few labels, platform, what you have in the environment. You have AWS, you have Microsoft Azure, you have on-premise environment, you can even have containers. And then from here, you immediately can see like how those different platforms talk to each other, rather than you want to look at 1,000 servers and see how they talk to each other. Okay, this is a really powerful engine to give you everything in the single pane of glass, and you can actually look at this data not only on a real-time basis, or it can be based on the old historical data as well. Okay, and then the best part about this microsegmentation solution is, compared to our competitor like Illumio, right, we can actually provide them the biggest coverage, broadest coverage in terms of operating system. As I mentioned, usually you want to use this solution, you need to install agent in the system, but it doesn't mean that you can support all the system. Like if let's say customer is using Microsoft Windows Server 2008, some server not servers, I mean some other product, they may not support Server 2008 anymore. Yeah, but our Galiko solution still can support even Windows Server 2003, 2000. Yeah, you can see we have actually a broadest coverage compared to other competitors, right? And this is where we can achieve a full coverage for customers' environment. And then your question, right? What if the customer doesn't want to install the agent, or maybe the device itself cannot install agent, because there are certain things like CCTV cameras, IoT devices, right? You cannot install agent in the CCTV, right? Then what we can do is we have another way to collect the traffic data, which is we can do something like attaching to the switch span port to get the mirror of the traffic. This is more on the visibility purpose. We can see what's going on for the traffic between CCTV and maybe the internet. But we cannot do enforcement on, let's say you want to block the traffic from CCTV to any places, then that will be not possible. But if you want to do the enforcement to block the traffic, it's best if you have an agent installed. Yeah, so I think this is the common use case for many customers. They just install agents in all their servers, or maybe even users notebook. Yeah, we can also install the Galiko agent. Okay. Then once you have those visualization, next you want to understand why they talk to each other in this way. So our powerful engine, right, can actually bring you to see in detail. For example, you may probably have the AWS platform, like, but you want to know within AWS platform anything else that you can see. So this is how you can understand in detail how the server talk to each other by just looking at the labels. Like in this case, we have an environment label, and then when you go deep, right, you can see the application label. So which means you want to know inside the environment, maybe production environment, what are the applications are running in the environment. So if you go deep, right, let's say you are interested to know the e-commerce application, okay, what are the servers running inside it? So servers can have different roles, okay. You can have a load balancer server, you can have a web server, or you can even have a database server. And you can also look at, you know, how these different servers talk to each other. Like you can see all those numbers are actually port number, you know. 8080 27017, right? They show you all those port numbers for you to understand. Like load balancer talk to web server, like it use port 8080, and web server talk to database server, it use 27017. This port, if I'm not mistaken, is a MongoDB port number. Okay, so if you are really familiar with the port number association with the application, you will know which port number is for what purpose. Okay, once you understand the entire thing, like maybe one day you might notice why the web server is talking to the DB server using port 12345. You don't know why it's port 12345. Yeah, you may think this is suspicious. So you can actually go deep and see which process is using port 12345, and you may notice that, oh, this is a malicious, maybe it's a malware using port 12345. Then that's why you can actually enforce a policy. Okay, so we have all those different templates, like you can straight away use to create a policy that says that you want to isolate the server, so that the server cannot talk to any other place. If let's say you found out that this server is compromised, there's a malware inside the server, so you want to stop the connection, or you want to do something like I'm going to show you a few more slides next. Like, so usually when customers start to implement the Core microsegmentation, they will start with environment segmentation first. So what does that mean is, usually customer environment, they have applications running on dev or staging or UAT or production, or it can be any different type of the environment that may have in the organization. So they want to isolate, like maybe when they have a production environment, they don't want to allow other environments to talk to production. So they can isolate all the servers that is located in the production environment. UAT environment cannot talk to production. So that's usually the first step of how they implement the segmentation. Once they done the environment segmentation, right, then the next thing that they can do is application link fencing. So what that means is that it basically identify what are the applications that you have in the environment. Like you may have a e-commerce application, you may have a HR application, or you may have a GitHub on-premise application, something like that. So you want to isolate different application so they cannot talk to each other. But you still can specifically allow something like if you think application A needs to talk to application B for some reason, you still can allow, but by default you can isolate the environment, sorry, the application, so they by default don't talk to each other. So once you have a application ring fencing being done, right, within an application you have different server types or server roles. So maybe your e-commerce application have load balancer, you have web server, you have database, you have another application server, things like that. So you may want to just allow the necessary connection to talk to each other. For example, load balancer should only talk to port 8080 in web server, but not port 12345. So you do all those segmentation, you only allow what is needed. Okay, so this is like a example policy that we can create in a Core dashboard. You can define like if you notice any suspicious activity towards some certain ports like port 22 for SSH or port 3389 for RDP, then you can block it straight away, or you can even set it as a default rule, so no one can talk to this port unless you specifically say you want to allow. Then you can do that. Okay, the most detailed segmentation is when you can segmentize based on process. Like, so imagine even though load balancer can talk to web server using port 8080, but doesn't mean the port 8080 is a legitimate application. Like, so let's say you are originally using Java. Okay, the port 8080 is run by Java in the web server, but suddenly the attackers compromise the web server. They run something else. They run Node.js application, but still use port 8080. So do you think this is still a legitimate connection? It's no longer a legitimate connection. It's a malicious one, even though port number is still the same. So the process level gives you the most granular segmentation. You look into a process level whether you should allow or block the connection. So this is like an example of a policy in Core where you can actually specify load balancer use Nginx, web server use Java. But if the load balancer suddenly using Apache to talk to the web server, then something's wrong. So you can do the segmentation on the process level. Yeah, we have another way of doing segmentation is you can allow access based on the user identity, or you can set username, right? Okay. Because as I mentioned, right, not only servers can install the agent, but your endpoint devices, like your laptop, my laptop, everyone's laptop can also install the agent. So you can control whether this laptop user can access a certain application or not. Maybe they will look into this laptop username, Eric Tong. Okay, only Eric Tong can access application A. But if you want to access the application A, but you log in as another user, right, which is not in the allow list, so this will block the connection to that application. Only me can access. So this is what I call as a identity-based access control. Okay. By the way, is there any questions based on what I've presented just now on the how microsegmentation works? Oh, good. Okay, I'll go into the next section of the microsegmentation topic, which I show you the general architecture of how the microsegmentation entire system is implemented. So what we have here is, first we have a so-called management server. So management server is basically the brain of the entire system. Okay, it will process everything, including the data that has been sent into the management server. Okay, and then they can also enforce the policy. If let's say you create some policy to block or allow something in the dashboard, right, then the management server will do all those processing. And then you notice we have something called deception server on this line side. Even though it is located at the same level as management server, but one of the special thing of deception server is if you know about honeypot, basically deception server is like a honeypot. Not sure if you know how honeypot works, right? It is like a fake server, you know, that it is trying to give the attackers the fake device for him to connect, and the attackers will try to do something inside the honeypot, and you can capture everything that attacker is trying to do in the environment. It's a fake environment, but still it doesn't impact your actual servers. So it's just the traffic is being rerouted to the fake server, which is a honeypot. And then we have the aggregators. Okay, aggregator is the middleman between management server and agent. So you can see that agent is the software that we install in each of the device like laptop or servers. But agents do not talk to management directly. But instead, we have something called aggregator. We collect all the data from the agent, and then we send the data to management. Okay, so this makes sure that you don't need to let agents talk to management directly and cause connection problem. So you just instead let agents send all the data to aggregator as the middleman or the proxy, and it will do all the collection of the data and send it back to the management. And then lastly is the collector. So this actually answers your question, what if the device cannot have agent installed, then we have this collector. Okay, collector will collect the traffic data coming from, let's say, the switch, or maybe you have a hypervisor VMware. You can get all the copy of the data from the VMware ESX collector.
But for monitoring and report only?
Yes, for monitoring,
No
like
enforcement?
no enforcement. But it still can do the honeypot, which means you still can redirect the malicious traffic to the honeypot by using the ARP spoofing. They can do that. If let's say you know how ARP spoofing works, right, then that's what collector is doing. Yeah, to send the traffic to deception honeypot, but still cannot do enforcement like block the traffic. They cannot do that. Okay.
Can Akamai integrate with another vendor to do the for example, let's say firewall or IKEA?
That's a good question. So even though collector itself cannot enforce, right? But yes, you are right. Our Gadi core can actually integrate with some other existing firewall solution. For example, maybe Palo Alto or F5, something like that. They have something called a plugin. You can install plugin in Gadi core. So the plugin can do integration with your current appliances. So you may still be able to use this way to let Gadi core tells, let's say, the hardware firewall, okay, please block this IP address or some other traffic. Okay. So now you see that this entire Gadi core, it looks like a firewall. It's just that it's a very smart firewall that it can look at the process level and see whether to allow or block the traffic or not. Okay, that's the good thing about Gadi core. But still, it doesn't mean that we should tell the customers that, hey, you should throw away your firewall. Please use Gadi core. At this point, what we can suggest is you may still need the existing hardware firewall in your environment, but you just add this in, so that they work with each other. Especially the use case where you may want to do the enforcement on the traffic which cannot install agent, right? So hardware firewalls may still be needed, just that they may not need a very powerful hardware firewall, because most of the things can be done in Gadi core. Okay, so I move on to next slide. Alright, so this is how the the architecture looks like when you look in detail. The good thing about Guided Core is it doesn't matter whether your server is running on physical bare metal or is it a virtual machine or is it running on a public cloud virtual machine or even if you are running Kubernetes container environment, we can still put that agent in each of the places so we can achieve the full visibility coming from anywhere. Because some customers they like to use hybrid cloud, right? They have on-premise server, but still they also have servers running on AWS or Google Cloud, and they may be using some site-to-site VPN connection between on-prem servers and the cloud, so they can talk to each other. So in that way, if all the servers can install agent, that means we can monitor the traffic between each cloud, from on-prem to cloud A to cloud B, things like that. Okay. Yeah, I think this ship is a very good example if you want to explain to customer in a different way what microsegmentation means. Like. So oftentimes when let's say there's a ship wants to put something to deliver the parcel or something like that, so they will have isolated, we call it as a isolated space within a ship, so that this isolated container A, they if let's say something happens in that container, right? Let's say it's on fire, at least the fire does not go to container B, container C, container D, things like that. So this is like a one way of how we think of the segmentation. Or maybe another example is think of a hotel, right? If you go to a hotel before for a stay, and you know that if you want to go into your room, right, you need to go to the reception to tell them that, okay, I'm going to have a stay in your hotel for 2 nights. Then you need to provide them the information like your name, your phone number, maybe your passport number, something like that. Then only they give you access card. Even they give you access card, right? You need to go into the lift and tap into the lift scanner in order to access the floor. And once you reach the floor, you still need to tap the card on your room door. Then only you can go into your room. So the entire process, when you think about it, is quite similar to how microsegmentation works. So imagine the receptionist is the IP address, and then the lift floor number can be a port number, and then the room number is the process. So you have to go through each of the layers, like in order to access something, which is in hotels example is your room lah, right? Then you can use this concept to explain the story to the customer. How microsegmentation is similar in our real world situation, right? So the benefit of microsegmentation is all those benefits at the bottom. We have can help to reduce attack surface, block lateral movement, and isolate the breaches, detect more advanced threats, and limit impact of a security incident. Right, those are the benefits of segmentation. And the outcome of having the zero trust microsegmentation in place is, in terms of operation, you are going to enjoy all those benefits. Right? Fast to deploy, the policy creation process. Actually, some of the policy creation is actually rely on the AI. So they have a machine learning algorithms to suggest you, okay, what policies you should create based on your historical traffic data. So for example, they notice that in your internal environment that there's a traffic for DNS port 53. So they suggest you to create a policy for DNS. So there's a machine learning algorithm there. Okay. Security wise, it can help achieve the consistency across different platforms. What I mean is that right now we have different types of system platforms like Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Ubuntu, or what else? Red Hat kind of systems, like so you can achieve the same level of protection across different system. Okay. Okay, let me see. I think this is a bit at once, but what it's trying to tell you is, do you see that on the bottom part, right? It is like a cyber kill chain. Okay, it's a cyber kill chain where it explains like initial access, how attackers can get into the initial access, and then the network discovery, what attackers will be doing, and then consolidation and preparation, and the following steps, like those are the things that attackers are trying to do in order to achieve the final result, which is in this case, if we talk about ransomware attack, right, those are the general process what the attacker is trying to do in the environment until they get the ransom from the victim. But if we are going to stop this attack from happening, like those are the solutions that we are able to implement in the customer environment. Of course, when you look at this diagram, it is going to include some other solutions that Akamai has, like secure gateway or zero trust network access. But you can see more importantly is where our microsegmentation can be located. Okay, it can help to stop network discovery, and then you look at this, like it can help to stop this established network dominance process, as in lateral movement. And you see microsegmentation can even stop at the data exfiltration phase, right? So that's how our microsegmentation solution can stop those ransomware attack in different levels or different phases in the cyber kill chain, right? Okay, let me see what else I can share with you. Okay, like you can see those are the list of customers that that already onboard to Guardicore microsegmentation, right? Even the most famous name like Deloitte, KPMG or OCBC Bank, and some of the telcos, right? They're already using the Guardicore segmentation, right? So basically, you can say that it's a solution that is trusted by many companies, even those large companies in the world. Okay, maybe lastly, what I want to share with you is not only our API security has threat hunting, right? Even microsegmentation, we do also provide these threat hunting services. So we help our customers to look into your traffic within your the network environment. With the microsegmentation solution in place, we also can provide some kind of intelligence to tell that whether your server is it talking to some malicious IP address outside. And then they help you to do the threat hunting. Yeah, so this is something that customer can also leverage. But of course, if the partners are able to deliver their own threat hunting services, is the best, right? Yeah, so you don't have to ask customers to purchase Akamai managed threat hunting services. Then you do your own. Then you can also earn your own money. Okay, this is a bit complicated, but it's okay. Right. So last slide is key advantage over other microsegmentation competitors. So you can see that first, as I mentioned earlier, it support most of the operating system, including the older operating system like Windows Server 2003, something like that. Other competitors, they may not even support Windows Server 2008 or some of the older Linux versions like Ubuntu version or Red Hat version 4, something like that. Okay, and then our Guardicore is one of the vendor that provides full visibility and enforcement up to layer 7, that's in the process level. So some of the communicators can only do the microsegmentation, but only on layer 4, like the port number level of the segmentation. Okay, Okay, and our flexible rules policy creation is better than some other competitors because we can not only do allow list, but we can also do deny list as well. Then next is we support unlimited labeling. Okay, you may not really know what is labeling is, but if I go back to this slide again, you see those are labels, right? Okay, those are labels. Okay. Basically you can have your own label name as much as you want. You can even have 100 labels for each of your servers. If you wish, maybe the customer existing environment already has certain labels that they use to identify servers. Like they can literally use the same label name and the value to assign to each of the servers. So they can have a label name called uh, operating system. Operating system, is it a Windows server or Linux server? They can do that kind of labeling. And environment, production, dev, staging environment. Uh, those. So basically, you can have different types of labelings that you can have in Guardicore, and is unlimited. So some competitors they only allow maximum 3. And the bad thing is that 3 labels that you can put like is a fixed name. So they don't allow you to put some other types of label name. Okay, next is ability to view and analyze traffic flows within a single pane of glass. Yeah, I will be showing you some demos later on. Okay, and then threat hunting services. I would say no other providers can do this threat hunting. And then our Guardicore solution, right? I didn't mention this earlier, but the Guardicore management can be installed either on SaaS cloud based, or you can install the management server in on-premise environment. The customer may say that, oh, I don't want to send the data to cloud. I want all the data to be inside the on-premise environment. If they have enough resources to run our management server, then that's okay. Okay, lastly, we do also provide some other features that other competitors may not have, such as honeypot that I mentioned earlier. Okay, honeypot is a very interesting feature. Even most of the other competitors, they don't provide honeypot for you to analyze what the attacker is trying to do in the honeypot. And then file integrity monitoring. You may notice that in the market there are some solutions that only provides file integrity monitoring feature. So file integrity monitoring, that they check whether the file in the server, is it changed before or not, or is it still the same file. If the file in the server has been changed, right, that means someone has been compromised the server. So the file integrity monitoring is also something built into Guardicore. So the customer doesn't need to buy additional solution for file integrity monitoring. Okay, right. I think that's the last slide from my side. Anything else from you guys? If you have any questions.
A lot of information, and I think we need time to understand.
Understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, consider that today we are putting, I think, 3 products like at one time that you need to learn and understand. But it's okay. The slide will be shared with you all later on, and you can refer back what I shared today.
Oh.
Then and at least you don't have to digest everything today lah, so you can refer back the. And also because I record the session like for today's session, so I think I can also share the recording to you all if you want to watch back what the things that I have shared for today, right?
Như vậy cô sẽ là hiện nay deployed WAF or API protection in layer 7 or microsegmentation?
I would say microsegmentation is a totally different solution than the AAP WAF that we
I can deploy
Okay.
API protection over microsegmentation.
All of them can deploy together. There's no problem. It's just that they are a separate solution to cover different protections. And then
What do you mean about the provide full visibility of enforcement up to layer
okay.
7?
Just to clarify things, like when I mentioned layer 7 in microsegmentation, I'm talking about the process. You know, operating system, when you want to launch application, there will be a process, right? Like maybe if you open Google Chrome in your Windows laptop, there will be a chrome.exe process. So this is what requires a layer 7 visibility. You can even look into what is the process doing. But when I talk about layer 7 in web application firewall, we are talking about HTTP request. Okay, whether this incoming HTTP request, is it malicious traffic or not? Like, is it a SQL injection or cross-site scripting or not? So this is, I mean, the layer 7 here is a different thing than the layer 7 in WAF. They are different. But of course, customer can buy all the solutions that we have: microsegmentation, API security, and also AAP for the full protection. Yeah. Alright, I think we don't have much time. Maybe I'll just quickly go through the demo for Gadicore. But same what I want to show you is how you can access the demo for Gadicore, right? But one thing you need to know is our Gadicore demo is not from here. Okay, let's say, why I'm seeing this portal. I think very likely you're not going to see segmentation here. Even though I might be able to see, I think I just saw one. Yeah, in my view, I can see this item, but I believe in your SE Central, you won't be able to see this. Yeah, because this is my internal account, right? So I may be able to see everything, but yours may be only seeing API security and AAP. So you have another ways to access it, which is if you have access to partner portal, which I already showed you earlier how you can access partner portal, and then you can go to this training and certification, and then you see that there's a button called Gadicore demo. Okay, so when you click on this Gadicore demo, it will send you to another page, which is, hey, we are almost finishing up, so right. Okay, so once you click the button, right, you'll be redirected to this page. It will ask you to click proceed. Then you will receive your email and password to log into Gadicore demo with the URL, of course. But basically, the URL that you can access Gadicore demo will be this: ya.cloud.gadicore.com. But I believe when you receive the email, like, you should know which URL to access, so it's okay. I just want to tell you that this will be the URL that you can log in by typing the user and password that you receive in the email. But for me, let me check. I think I have different ways of accessing. So give me a moment. I'm accessing the demo in a different way, but you don't have to follow. Okay, you don't have to follow. More importantly, you should follow what are the things that I showed you earlier, where you go to the partner portal. This is another page basically, but I don't know why I cannot access. And error occurred. Interesting. And I don't know whether my account has been suspended or not, but it's okay. I can still show you a different dashboard. Sorry, it's a bit slow. Please bear with me for a while. Okay. I connect to VPN and it's much better. Okay, so this is how the Core dashboard looks like. I mean, it's quite important when, let's say, you have access to the demo portal and you like to show them what they can do with the Core dashboard. Like, so first, this is what you see when you first log in. It basically gives you an overview or summary of the system status. Like, for example, how many agents you have, what is the issue that you have in your system, and how many applications that you have protected by a policy, how many domains that uh, Core has identified the server is trying to talk to, and then what are the malicious IP address that they have detected in the connection, and what are the processes that have been running in your environment as well, the top process. Okay, and then lateral movement incident is when, let's say, the what you call it, the attackers have successfully compromised the machine and try to do lateral movement, try to move into different servers, then you can also get the alerts, but now it's zero. Okay. Basically, when you try to do a demo, there are a few things that I think is very important to describe to the customer. Is first, we need to identify what are the assets in the environment. Okay, assets are nothing but they are just a device or the servers that have been identified by Core. So if, let's say, you have installed the agent in all your servers and all your devices, you should see them appear as assets here as well. But of course, you may not get those information from the agent, but you still can leverage the, let's say, the integrations of the connector. You get the information from ESX connector, then you still can see all the different assets in this list. This is to tell you that, okay, those are the servers that we have identified, or device that we have identified, and those are the labels that we assign to the each of the asset. So for example, you may see that we have accounting application, load balancer, and it gives you these few labels. Okay, so those are the labels that have been assigned to this asset. You can see this is a load balancer. is a development environment, is an e-commerce application. It runs on Linux with Ubuntu operating system version 16. Right? Of course, you may have more than that. I do see some of the assets may have 20 labels and more. Yeah, so it depends on how the customer is trying to organize the labels. And how we determine the label is we actually have a specific dedicated label section where you can have label by setting the criteria in what situation where in the assets will have this label. So for example, you want to put the label called app jumpbox when the criteria is when the host name starts with jumpbox. Yeah, you can do that kind of labeling with the criteria. And then you can also show them the agents, right? Where those are the list of agents that have been identified after you install the agent in the each of the server. Okay, you have agents installed on accounting application, billing application, e-commerce application, things like that. Yeah, so you can actually show it this way. But the most fun part when it comes to the Galicor demo is when you are demonstrating the diagram. Okay, I think this will make a lot of customer excited because we actually show the entire traffic flow just by the label, not this way. Okay, even though you can choose to show all, right, but imagine if the customer has 1,000 servers. Are you going to show all 1,000 servers like this? No, right? It is going to be very complicated. They will, it will be having a hard time to understand why this server talk to that server and so on. So the best way for them to understand it better is if we group them first by the environment. So you can immediately see that, oh, you have infrastructure environment, you have development environment, you have production environment, right? So within each environment, you can go deep into each of the labels. When you double click, like you understand that, oh, in the production environment, you have two applications. One is the billing application, another one is the accounting application. And each application, how they talk to each other, you can see the arrow, right? Maybe some of them are going to internet, some of them are going to another environment, talking to a different port. Those numbers, they are actually referring to a port number. You can further go in, like let's say I want to know inside accounting application, what are the roles that you can identify. So in accounting application, there's a load balancer, there's a web server and also a database. So you see that people first talks to load balancer first, and then load balancer talks to web server using port 8080. And then web server talks to the database using 27017, which is the MongoDB database port number. Okay. This is not the end yet because you can even double click again. Okay, let's say you want to know inside web server, what are the servers inside this web server role? So there are two web servers inside. Okay, you have web server 1, web server 2. So your load balancer talks to these two web servers. Okay, using port 8080. Okay, this is not final yet. If I double click, those are the processes. If you are familiar with Linux, I think you may be understanding what is apt-get or tomcat, right? Those are the Linux processes that we can even identify which process is trying to talk to who. Okay, so that's why our core platform is really powerful in this way, where we can even have the visibility up to layer 7. What I mean by layer 7 here is the process lah, right? Okay, I believe once you do this kind of demonstration, your customer will feel really impressed, right? Because traditionally, we are not able to do this with just a traditional firewall. But if you have core, that's what we can see. Yeah, traditional firewall, maybe you can just look at the port number like, oh, 27017. But which process is it? You don't know. If I double click the database row, right, I just want to prove you that this port is for MongoDB. Do you see that? Port 27017 goes to MongoDB database. Right. If one day you notice that 27017 talks to maybe MySQL, you know something strong. Yeah. Okay, so that's how we can provide this kind of demo to the customers to visualize one by one until the really deep level, right? Okay. And then maybe another part that I can show you is the network logs. Sorry, my time is a bit overrun. Maybe give me about 3 minutes. Right. Okay. So in the network log, that basically tells you like what are the traffic that has been allowed or blocked. It's just like a firewall log, like. Of course, the information that you will see will be more detailed. If you're interested to just see the block traffic, filter it, then somehow for today there's no block traffic, but let me put last 30 days. Hopefully, unfortunately, I don't see any block traffic. Yeah, I think this demo environment is just too good until nothing is being blocked. But supposedly, you should be able to see something's blocked if you have a policy that says, okay, you want to block this traffic. Right, but yeah, unfortunately, I cannot show you the block one. But I just want to tell you that this is where you can see the individual logs. Okay, but now everything is allowed. But you see each logs, it actually tells you which IP address, which server, which process, talk to which server, and then which process, right? That's how we can give you a really deep visibility. Lastly is you may actually show them how we can create rules. Okay, right now we only have rules to allow. No wonder we don't have the block one, right? But you can basically create a rule to block like this, and then you can specify the source. For example, you want to select accounting database one for maybe specific process. Yeah, maybe any process, or maybe you want to just allow from HTTP process, and then to which destination, and then you can also specify the destination that you want to set here. Okay, maybe I'll just put DB2 for example, and then you can also specify processes just like that. Oh, sorry. Process to process block rules aren't supported, which means if I have process in the source, I cannot set process in the destination anymore. So that's a limitation, but you still can set like additional subnets, things like that. Yeah. So you can also even specify port numbers, which port number you want to block. If you select all, that means it will be any port, and then action will be block, and then you can save it. Yeah, so that's how we can create the policy. Lastly is you can actually have a create policy button. Oh, sorry, I think this may be a bit confused, right? Policy looks like this, but rules are just individual rules like that. Yeah, so one policy can have multiple rules. So you see, those are the templates that you can immediately use to create the policy. Some of the templates have been suggested by the AI or machine learning, so you can immediately implement something from here. Like for example, if you want to prevent ransomware lateral movements through WinRM, you can straight away use this template, right? And then you can specify what the labels you want to allow access to this WinRM, because this is the default rule. You want to prevent the connections, right? Except admin. So who will be the admin? You can choose the label. I don't know, maybe the admin is under app DC, and then you can set some at once options and then click next. So it will create something called the rule set, where a rule set policy will have multiple rules. Okay, that's how it works when you want to implement a policy. So we are no longer using a traditional way where you allow or block access through IP address and port number, but instead we use the labels. As long as the server falls under this label, it will apply this policy. Okay, that's the powerful thing about our Gadi core. I think that's all for my demo. Is there anything that you would like to ask before we end the session for today? Oh, I believe it may be too much information, by the way. But yeah, since I'll be sharing the slides to you all later on, so hopefully you can revise again and you can understand the benefits of our different solution and how they can help your customers when it comes to requirements from customer where they need certain features, like then you can suggest what is the best for them. Yeah, because things like API security, not all customers need API security usually. If let's say your customer is a media broadcasting customer, they only have a lot of videos, but they don't really have transactions. So why you need to propose API security? So this is not so relevant. Yeah. So if you as a Precious, you identify what is the best solution that you can propose to your customers. Yeah. Alright. All good.
Yeah.
Maybe from that side. Anything? All good. Good. Good.
Thank you.
All right. Nothing. If nothing else, then I'll end the session for today. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone from SB Tech team, Amigo team, and who else? I can't remember. Softmaster, is it here?
No. Just
Oh, yeah.
Amigo and Speaker here.
Yeah, okay. I think some of the others already left, right? Okay, but it's okay. Anyway, thanks for joining the session for today, and even thanks for those who joined virtually. Right. Right now, let's see who else are still in the call. Mr. Tuan is still in the call. So yeah, thank you so much for staying until 5 o'clock for our entire
Okay.
session. So
Bye bye. Thank you, Eric.
so much. Right.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.